distractions, they keep me wandering, but you have my wild heart. Asking God for favors, I only pray when I'm low. Just when I stop believing, it's time I ought to roll. But you have my wild heart. Hey, yeah. What's it gonna take? When's it gonna break? How many times do you need to see if you can take the one you can't tie down, the one you need to now? Oh baby, why can't I get you out of my wild heart? Oh, my wild heart. Oh, let's go.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Tampa City Council meeting held today on August 4th, 2022. If we could all please rise for a moment of silence. Thank you. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. Hi, thank you very much. Roll call.
Carlson, Vieira, Maniscalco. Here. Hurtak.
Here.
Goods.
Here.
Miranda. And Citro.
I am here.
We have a physical quorum.
Mr. Massey.
Good morning. This is the August 4, 2022 meeting of the City of Tampa City Council held in City Council Chambers in the third floor of Old City Hall, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard here in Tampa, Florida. The public is able to attend this meeting in person or view it via cable television on Spectrum Channel 640 or Frontier Channel 15 or by the internet via www.tampa.gov/livestream. The public is also able to participate in this meeting during public comment for a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker, either here in person in City Council chambers or virtually by way of Communication Media Technology or CMT. However, the use of CMT does require pre-registration with the City Clerk's office. Directions for pre-registration are included in the notice of the meeting and on the agenda. Members of the public may also participate in quasi-judicial matters remotely via CMT, but cell phones and smartphones are not compatible as they will not allow your camera when connected. You must have access to a CMT device such as a tablet or computer equipped with a camera and a microphone that will enable you to be seen and heard by City Council and all other participants in a quasi-judicial matter. Can I please have a motion waiving City Council standard rules of procedure to allow public comment and appearance by City administrative staff via CMT? Thank you.
We have a motion made by Councilman Good, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I see that Madam Mayor is on the line. However, we're going to go through the agenda at this time. Council members, we have 9 staff reports today. 5 have memos. 2 of the 5 are financial threshold but need approving. One of the 5, number 7, I believe, is asking for a continuance by Councilman Vieira to August 25th. We have a motion made by Councilman Good, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Thank you, council members. With that, I'm asking, can we go ahead and release the staffs for items 3 through 7?
No. No, let's Mr. Beard, let's hear those top dollar items so the public can know what they're about and why we're doing them. 3 and 4 is his item, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I'd like to keep 5.
Yep.
And isn't 6?
I think 6 is gonna
Six
be,
is moving, right?
right?
No, it's just a continuance.
Continue.
Okay.
Continuance.
Move to continue item number 6 to
So moved.
December 1st, 2022.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, number 5 is asked for a written report, but of course you would like to have the police chief here. Okay, so coming back and saying, number two, chief is going to give us a quick overview for a couple things. Number 3, we're keeping. 4, we're keeping. 5, you would like to hear from Chief O'Connor on that. 6, 7 have been continued. 8?
Well,
Yes.
Yes. Okay. 9?
yes.
Okay, and of course 10.
Yep.
Okay. We also have, if I can, the addendum. Where did I put that? Thank you very much. I got it. So much paperwork. A request for a continuance on item number 45.
Move to continue to August 25th, 2022 at 1:30 PM.
I'm going to go to our clerk.
Okay. I'll bring it up at 10:30.
Okay. All right, so are we set?
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
A motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilwoman Hurtak. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Let's go to agenda item number 1. Chief, are you going to do any type of introductions, or because we all know our mayor, we'll just go straight to the mayor?
Name for the record.
I'm sorry?
Name for the record. I'm kidding.
Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you, Chairman Citro and City Council members.
Madam
Hello
Mayor,
from
Madam Mayor, for the record, could you please give us your name?
Oh, in case someone forgot, huh? I am Mayor Jane Castor. Very nice to see you this morning, Council. As I said, hello from Dublin, Ireland. I am actually sitting in Rapid 7's Dublin headquarters. That company may sound familiar to you because just less than a year ago, Rapid 7 opened a Tampa office, and in that short time, they have grown to over 60 employees with a goal of adding hundreds more high-skilled jobs in the next 3 to 5 years right in our community. As I said, I had hoped to be with you in person for this presentation. However, this benchmarking trip to Ireland has been planned for over 3 years and has already proven to be incredibly insightful and economically advantageous for our city. The crafting of the City of Tampa's 2023 budget has been very thoughtful and inclusive, although arduous, and I want to thank each of you council members for your collaboration in this effort. This budget addresses the many needs of our community, but none more important than the current housing crisis. In addition to our many efforts to address housing over the past few years, and in this budget as well, we will remain relentless in addressing this crisis from every possible avenue. Knowing that those who may be facing eviction, and for many whose rents have dramatically increased, we fully understand that relief cannot come quickly enough. Again, I want to personally thank each of you for your leadership and your cooperation, and look forward to working with you on the passage of this budget, a budget that will serve every corner of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Chief? I'm sorry. We have a
Good
brief
morning.
video.
I appreciate the opportunity to present our 2023 budget, titled Resilient Tampa. This budget reflects the many conversations we've had with City Council about your priorities, and builds on our shared commitment to developing a stronger future through long-term thinking and investing. It also reflects the city's rock-solid financial footing. Thanks to the work that this City Council, administration, and community have done together, Tampa is thriving. Even the formidable challenges we face, like pressing needs for more affordable housing and better transportation infrastructure, reflect Tampa's success in becoming one of America's most exciting places to live, work, and play. Let me give you a report card from the residents of Tampa. The preliminary results of our 2022 City of Tampa Community Values Survey of 1,300 city residents revealed a few important metrics. 93% of Tampa residents said they would recommend Tampa to a friend, family member, or acquaintance as a place to live. 92% would recommend Tampa as a place to work. 90% as a place to raise children. 89% recommended Tampa as a place to open a business. 91% recommended Tampa as a place to vacation. And 92% said they have trust and confidence in the City of Tampa government when it comes to handling city issues. Even after 2 years of COVID and an era of division in our country and state, Tampa residents are practically unanimous in appreciating the direction this community is heading. But I don't need to tell anyone here on City Council that we still have a lot of work to do. Tampa's economic expansion and rising property values are expected to generate an additional $40 million, including about $8 million for you to allocate to 10 CRA districts. Inflation is driving up our costs of delivering services just as it's driving up everyone's costs. CFO Dennis Rahira will get into the nitty-gritty of our budget proposal shortly. However, you'll find one of the biggest drivers in this budget to be new contracts with our 3 unions, as they represent 2/3 of Tampa's workforce. Tampa's Consumer Price Index has spiked higher than most anywhere in the country. I felt it important to stand behind the men and women who serve our residents so well. While many people worked from home through much of the pandemic, these men and women remained on the front lines. They were out fixing broken pipes, testing our water, collecting our trash and recycling, and saving lives. To keep us resilient, we need to be able to recruit and retain the talent we have. This pay increase is not only necessary, but well deserved. Here's our plan for fiscal year 2023 to address the sustainability, resiliency, and the health and safety of our community. A budget is the ultimate reflection of a city's values and priorities. There is no greater priority for this administration or this council than housing. That's why we committed more than $100 million to housing-related services during our administration. I will aggressively promote housing in the next budget too. My goal is to create 10,000 affordable housing units by 2027, and I'm proud to say we are more than halfway there. We understand when we invest in housing, we invest in people. Last year, for the first time in history, the city designated general fund money toward housing affordability and stability for our Tampa residents. We propose doing that again next year with $5.5 million in general fund money and $20 million overall for housing-related services. That includes a detailed housing study we've discussed with City Council to better analyze our existing housing stock and future needs. In fact, we're adding personnel and strengthening the Development and Economic Opportunity Department, which includes housing, to better serve our residents. It will help us tackle this housing crisis quicker, more efficiently, and with added accountability. It will also help us improve our long-term planning, which is critical at a time of explosive growth. Healthy infrastructure is the foundation of a strong city, which is why the City of Tampa, in partnership with the Tampa City Council, launched the PIPES program. So far, the city has completed 22 PIPES programs worth more than $66 million. Currently, we have 90 PIPES projects in the works worth more than $1 billion, and 22 of those have already been closed out. Both to cut costs and to speed up construction, we want to add 2 construction crews to handle routine water pipeline work rather than having to rely on private contractors. For mobility, we will continue to create premium transit corridors along the major transportation spine of our city. This will connect the West Shore District to downtown and downtown to the university area. We will also keep the momentum going in modernizing the Tampa streetcar system and extension to Tampa Heights. Additionally, the city will continue to advocate for Fowler Avenue to be a gateway boulevard with dedicated transit lanes and land use framework. The city will also implement the first year of the Vision Zero action plan with new quick build projects. Additionally, we're constructing more than 2 miles of new sidewalks. Sustainability and resiliency are at the center of everything that we do. In the next year, the city will support several neighborhood-level studies. This will help us prioritize issues like urban heat, coastal protection, and water security. We will also install hundreds of new solar panels and implement new energy-saving programs. In fiscal year 23, we will focus on staff recruitment, ensuring there is a pipeline of diverse, qualified applicants who can compete for jobs. City leaders will also make sure underrepresented businesses are afforded with opportunities to compete on government contracts. We'll do this through great programs like Bridges to Business. You'll also find beauty, equity, and inclusion brought to the forefront through the Soul Walk Heritage Tour of Tampa. In partnership with local museums and stakeholders, we will celebrate those lost areas in the fabric of Tampa's history. The City of Tampa will continue to attract new talent to our workforce. We will help connect job seekers directly with hiring managers at events like Signing Day, and provide access to apprenticeship training and other career learning. Additionally, the Mayor's Workforce Council will help us identify where Tampa needs new workers the most. We'll also continue to promote online resources like Tampa Works. The City of Tampa remains a fiscally prudent government. This year, we will continue building on our great credit ratings, which help us stretch our dollars far wider than other, less disciplined communities. A crucial part of that is maintaining more than 22% of our budget in reserves, a practice that we will continue in 23. This is such an exciting time for us as we transform Tampa's tomorrow. I appreciate what Tampa City Council does to serve this wonderful community. I look forward to working together to finalize this budget and to continue our momentum throughout next year. There is no limit to what we can accomplish together. Now let's bring up the money man, Dennis Rahiro.
Yes, sir.
Mayor Castor is in Ireland right now with the Tampa Chamber of Commerce, and I am hoping that she is prospecting for some businesses to start here in Tampa, and I hope that she returns with a 4-leaf clover to give us good luck and prosperity in the next coming year. As council knows, we have a workshop to discuss proposals with the administration on August 16th. After that, after we have had time to review it, public hearings are scheduled for September 6th and September 20th. But today, we will receive an overview from Mr. Rahiro. Take it away, Mr. Rahiro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, Council. Dennis Rahiro, Chief Financial Officer. I appreciate you having us here to brief you. This is the culmination of a great deal of effort on your part, on our part, and on the part of the public. If I can have the presentation, please. And you see the agenda there. We'll begin with the fiscal year 23 recommended budget, moving on to our continuing success in the grant research and competitive grant program. We've got a good story to tell you there. Continuing with the good story, we've got the capital improvement program, and closely linked to that, our debt program for the upcoming fiscal year. So let's dive right in. And here it is, Council. $1.9 billion, I'm rounding, but $1.9 billion for fiscal year 23. an increase of just under 4% from the current year budget. I'm going to share with you some highlights that are associated with those increases. You've got additional staffing. We've heard council say on many occasions that we need to staff up, and you'll see that reflected in this budget, including the housing department, transportation, water, parking enforcement, and planning and permitting. A couple of other items contributing to this increase from the previous fiscal year, the additional community redevelopment area contributions, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. Additional police, fire, and rescue equipment, higher fuel costs, of course that should be no surprise, additional funding for vehicles. As we'll get into in just a minute, we continue to concentrate on catching up on our new vehicles and vehicle replacements. We've got a lot of needs out there. Continued funding of the wastewater and water projects, expansion of our solid waste capital improvement program, we'll talk more about that, increased funding for parks and recreation, and of course, the recently negotiated labor contracts. You see here the breakout of the major funds. We're going to concentrate on the general fund and the enterprise funds. You see those up there? They make up 3/4 of the budget, where most of our services are provided to the public, and especially in our public safety realm, most of the general fund. And here are those two categories. On the left, the general fund, again, home of the Tampa Fire and Rescue Department, the Police Department, our Parks and Recreation Department, the Convention Center, Neighborhood and Community Affairs, and other government support operations. On the right, the enterprise funds, you're familiar with those. Those are our departments that run like a business. In the private sector, they would be compelled to make a profit or go out of business. So they charge for the services directly that they provide. As we've discussed before, the money they charge can only be spent on their services. Again, they run like a business. Water, wastewater, and solid waste primarily. And we've seen this slide before. We put this up here to note two important drivers of our property tax revenue. Property tax is our single largest revenue. And although it only accounts for about 1/6 of the total budget, it's a big contributor to our general fund. Again, the general fund is the funding we have the most flexibility with what we spend. And you see on the right, we display the impact of the contributions required to the community redevelopment agencies, the CRAs, over $40 million. And on the left, again, we reiterate that property taxes by themselves simply aren't enough to pay for our public safety services. I don't think they've been enough in my memory, and I don't anticipate they'll ever be enough to pay for our public safety services. Breaking down the general fund into a little bit more detail, I'll highlight some of the top increases. Of course, pay increases at the top. You've heard the mayor, you've heard the chief of staff discuss the recruitment, retention, and reward of our valuable employees, and that'll be the cost in fiscal year 23 in the general fund. We have various operating increases that we can get into detail and are detailed in the budget document. The CRA contributions that we just mentioned, again, a significant amount of funding. And once again, you heard the mayor say general funding for housing assistance. We started out the year with $4 million from the general fund. We're cranking that up to $5.5 million, about a 3% increase. But as you also heard the mayor say, that's not the only funding going to housing. We've got over $20 million in new revenue total for fiscal year 23. I also want to mention we've got the $400,000 set aside for the council's request on tenant advocacy. And Ms. Travis will be up later to discuss in more detail the broad-based encompassing resources that we're putting and that we have put towards the housing crisis. Council, you have asked specifically about the pay increases for next year. Of course, you're aware of the collective bargaining agreements of 9.5%. You see also here that for the professionals and the unclassifieds and the supervisors, we're mimicking that rate, 9.5%. Moving on to the managers, we have a 6% increase planned for them. You see that the directors and the administrators are still pending, and elected officials, including city council, is 3%. Chief, and I'm going to turn it over to the chief of staff to get into a little more detail about what we plan in fiscal year 23 for council salaries.
Morning, Council. John Bennett, Chief of Staff. During the planning cycle, which really launched in FY22 for FY23, there had been some public comment, robust public comment, and some non-motion asked from certain council to take a look at council salary as we move into FY23. And I want to thank some of the fan group for some of their analysis and public engagement towards city staff. And I want to thank Ian Whitney and Marley Wilkes for their work in intergovernmental analyses. And we brought forth a recommendation to increase council's current salary as part of the FY23 budget recommendation to what would be considered the median salary for this type of work based on other comparators in Central Florida. And that would bring the salary, which is currently $52,060, up to a recommended $73,713, which is analytically on par with your peers on similar governments, including the city of St. Pete and the city of Orlando. So that is an increase recommended in the budget. It's not on a slide. We can talk about it further, but that's what staff, through additional support and analysis, is recommending to change council's base salary as of FY23.
Thank you, Chief. If I can have the and there it is. Continuing on with the general fund, again, a subject very near and dear to our heart, the general fund balance. We're going to zero in on that, and I really can't stress enough how important this metric is. And once again, I want to thank council's continuing support of this fund balance, these fund balance levels. As you can see, going left to right, the amount in the fund balance continues to increase, and that's typical because it's a ratio to the budget. As the budget increases, the amount will also increase. But if you look at the top of those bars, you'll see that the percentage is reverting back to pre-pandemic levels, 23%, 24%. This is what we would expect, and this is what we anticipate as we spend down the federal stimulus that contributed to those high levels in the past couple of years. We're still, as you know, well above our 20% policy. Our 20% policy is certainly not a goal, and it's not a limit. We continue to try to exceed that. That contributes to our stability and resiliency. So I guess the takeaway from here is this return to a consistent and pre-pandemic level, very, very stable. It's a very, very stable picture. This is a wonderful slide reflecting the strength of our general fund. Our citywide position summary, again, council's indicated to us that you'd like increased staffing. You see it here. We're adding a total of 70 positions citywide. You see them here grouped by strategic goal. In the budget book, you'll see them grouped by department, but they include housing, permitting, as I mentioned, transportation, water, a significant influx in resources for the ever-expanding services that the city continues to provide. At the top, you'll see that we're still well below what we were following the Great Recession, over 150 positions less than that. And that'll be a nice segue into this chart here. You see, notwithstanding the position increases I just mentioned, we continue to reduce our ratio of employees to the population. You may recall that in the current year, we were tied with St. Petersburg for lowest. We remain tied with them. But that line going from left to right, you see that is a gradual and planned decline of, I guess, what we would call right-sizing our staff. At the same time, you've had increases in population, you've had increases in service demands, and yet that line continues to go down. Some of that, doing more with less, you've heard it before, I'm sure you'll hear it again, but also technological advances, okay? As we bring in more technology, and we're getting very, very technologically advanced, we can reduce or reallocate personnel resources to other functions, because, of course, as you know, the needs don't stop and they don't shrink. But again, a very nice picture from a stable and conservative financial management perspective. And that's really what we've become known for. Citywide health insurance costs, we love showing this slide. We continue to do much better than the national trend. We can be very proud of that. I want to give credit where credit's due. We continue to feel our wellness centers are just hitting the ball right out of the park, especially during the pandemic with COVID testing, COVID vaccinations, and our broad-based wellness program that endeavors to include family, not just employees, but their spouses, their partners, their children. And you're seeing it pay off now. I don't know that you'll ever see healthcare costs decrease, but we're certainly doing a very, very good job of mitigating that rate of increase, especially when you compare it to the nationwide trend. And vehicles, you heard me mention vehicles earlier. We continue to laser focus on new and replacement vehicles. As many of you are aware, following the Great Recession, we had to make priorities, and in many instances, prioritization did not include buying the vehicles that we needed to keep running as efficiently as we can. We're again throwing another $33 million, a little more, a little less than we did in the current year for vehicles, and about a third of that is going to police and fire. I want to say a few words about our grant research and competitive grant program. We continue to reap the benefits, as you've heard me say in the past, of a more proactive and coordinated approach. We've realigned some resources in the back offices, so we're all singing from one page, whether it's the Revenue and Finance Department, whether it's the Water Department, the Housing Department, so we can better focus and leverage our resources to get what we affectionately call other people's money. And you see here, we continue to be very ambitious. We'll be aiming for nearly $140 million of competitive grants next year. And these are the competitive grants, not the entitlement grants. They're not just giving these away. So we don't anticipate we're going to get them all, but we're going to give it the old college try. And again, the more ambitious we get and the wider net that we cast, the more opportunities we create for ourselves, either to bolster existing services, or if we find an opportunity for something we want to do but haven't had the resources to do, we can find them as part of this process. And you see our progress this year, nearly 70 million applied for already. We've still got about 2 months left in the year, and over a quarter of those were awarded to us, about $20 million. Again, this is competition. We're competing with other localities. And a brief history, you can also see how since we ramped up this program in 2020, we are reaping the benefits. As I said, speaking of $70 million, that's how much we've been awarded in less than 3 years. You see what we've got in the current year, and we've still got about $25 million in requests pending. So I want to thank my team. I want to thank the partnership we have with the other departments and in some instances, nonprofits in gaining this funding. I don't need to say it, but I'll say it. If we didn't have this funding, we either wouldn't be doing it or we'd be taking it from elsewhere. This is a very big win, and I think it'll continue to be a very big win. Moving on now to our 5-year capital improvement program. Again, a very significant component of what you all will review. And here it is, $1.9 billion, nearly $2 billion of recommended projects over the next 5 years. Very consistent with the current plan. I think I've shared with you before, we've got an aggressive capital improvement program going on. Of course, the poster child is the PIPES program, but it's far more to it than that. Significant increases in the community redevelopment agencies, Parks and Recreation, the Solid Waste Department, Stormwater, and then again, can't help, I mean, you see the biggest items on there, water and wastewater associated with the PIPES program. Getting into a few more details on these projects, I'm going to highlight the major projects. This is not limited to just the projects, and then we'll get into a little bit of detail for the differing council districts. And you see it here, water treatment plant improvements, wastewater improvements, wastewater collection, pumping station, again, all part of that PIPES program. We've had 2 debt issuances. You'll hear me talk about a 3rd potential debt issuance next year, and if it doesn't happen next year, it'll happen in the year after. We're doing a very good job, as you've heard us say, of acquiring the funding and then spending the funding. You heard the mayor discuss it. So the good news is we're bringing in a lot of money and we're spending a lot of money for exactly what we planned. Moving to Parks and Recreation, at the top of the list, the East Tampa Recreational Complex. Gandy Park South and Pelonis Park improvements, Sulphur Springs area improvements, the Wayne Pappy Athletic Center, New Tampa Sports Complex. We've got the Veterans Memorial at Jim Walter, and the Hyde Park. So a lot of stuff, a lot of things going on in the Parks and Recreation Department in this plan. Solid waste and environmental program management. Only 2 bullets, but a great deal of funding, and I'll get into a little more detail on that in just a moment as we discuss some of the potential debt issuances we're looking at. Headquarters fleet relocation from the Spruce area and the McKay Bay, waste to energy facility program. Mobility, the multimodal network that's associated with the BUILD grant, the West River program, the Rome Avenue program, stormwater projects, street resurfacing, significant amount of funding for mobility. And the Facilities Management Division, the Public Safety Training Facility. As you know, that's decades and decades old. We're the 49th largest city in the U.S. with one of, if not the best, fire and police departments. We need to improve their training facilities. And along with that, the relocation of the impound facility for TPD and fleet maintenance decentralization. We have a centralized fleet program now. We think we can gain a lot of efficiencies and reduce a lot of maintenance times by decentralizing that, by focusing more on the particular service being provided at the location and reducing the amount of time it gets for our assets to get to where they need to be repaired. And into the district maps. You'll find these interactive maps in the OpenGov program online, and there's a link at the end of this presentation. And in District 4, you'll see, and you're going to see this in each district council, the comprehensive infrastructure for Tampa's neighborhoods. That is quite simply the water, wastewater, mobility, and stormwater departments working together throughout the neighborhood to almost a strike force for capital projects, to get into an area from the bottom up, try to mitigate any inconvenience to the neighborhood occurring with all of this activity. In the past, as you probably know, we haven't been quite as well coordinated. So a department would come in, tear something up, fix it, and then lo and behold, maybe not too long after, another department would come in and tear up the exact spot. We've gotten a lot smarter about it, and I think you've heard very positive things about this template. I know our departments have. So you'll see that throughout the districts. Extensive stormwater and street water or street flooding work. Again, the BUILD grant and West River Walk and parks improvements. Again, these are not the only projects. These are simply the highlights. Moving on to District 5. At the top of the list, again, the East Tampa Recreational Complex. Again, that comprehensive infrastructure program. Again, the BUILD grant and the West River Walk program. Public safety, the Hannah Avenue Government Center, we continue with that apace, and as I mentioned previously, the Sulphur Springs area improvements. In District 6, again, the neighborhood infrastructure projects. Again, the Build Grant and the West Riverwalk and Rome Avenue project. And of course, the Howard Avenue, well, I can't see, oh, the Howard Avenue Police Department offices and Wayne C. Pappy improvements. And moving into District 7, once again, the neighborhood infrastructure projects. Fire Station number 24, the Fire Station number 20 parking lot, and the new Tampa area renovations. I'd like to segue a short distance to the debt program because this is the mechanism that we have used in the past, and this is the mechanism, one of the primary mechanisms we'll continue to use in the future to fund many of these projects. There we are. And you saw this, you've seen this before, you saw this in the mayor's presentation, but rightly so, I think it's worth reiterating. We don't just put this up here to brag on what we're doing, but it is braggable. We show this because it goes hand in hand with what those big projects you just saw are going to be accomplished with. We're doing big, important projects, and it takes big money. But we also show this because the better these ratings are, as you heard the mayor said, the more money we save that we can allocate to more projects. It really is a very positive circle there. The better we can make these, the more money we save, and the more projects that we can do. All of them, as I've said before, are high grade or better, and you and the community should expect nothing less. At the top, you see the rating called the issuer credit rating. That the closest metaphor for that is probably your personal FICO score. That's how well the city of Tampa is doing, and we're doing very well. On the far right, you see Standard & Poor, AAA. That is the highest rating you can get. The other two rating agencies, Moody's and Fitch, have given us the second highest rating. That is a very, very good FICO score. And as I said before, it continues to be worth reminding everybody that this is a very good gauge also of our financial stability. It's frequently reviewed and scrutinized by the credit rating agencies. Moody's, Fitch, Standard & Poor's. They come in with a fine-tooth comb, and they go through reams of documents, and they talk to just about everybody in the revenue and finance department and many of the other departments. And what do they find with this fine-tooth comb? They find continuing improvement and financial stability. So much so that you see on screen there, 14 credit rating upgrades since 2011. And I want to make it clear, they don't just set it and forget it. They come back. We have to continue to justify these rates and these ratings and prove that we deserve them, and we do. I'll end this slide by thanking council. I wouldn't say it if it wasn't true. We have taken some very big, bold steps from both a capital improvement program and a debt program perspective, and I think it's paying off. It's paying off real life every day for everyone in the city, not just residents. So thank you. I'm going to give you a picture of our current outstanding debt service. 35 years out to 2057, again, very well planned. We have some experts in-house, and we hire some experts outside to make sure this is a very well-run and stable plan. The green line shows the outstanding debt for the water and wastewater departments. You'll see that labeled as enterprise. Right now, those are the only enterprise funds we have debt with. The blue line shows the debt associated with governmental. That'll be our community investment taxes, our CIT, which I'll speak to in just a moment. Stormwater, the Florida Aquarium, our convention center, mobility and facilities improvements. That debt line, that blue debt line, will be adjusted for the anticipated debt issuance that will include the East Tampa Recreation Center, and I'll get into a little more detail in just a moment on that. But this is a very good debt profile. You've heard me say it before. Nice, smooth, decreasing over time, indicating very clearly that we have additional debt capacity for additional projects, for things that may arise that, They're not such a big priority now, but who knows what the future will bring. So that's a very good debt slide right there. This is our debt service payments every year. Again, last debt service payment in 2057, nice, smooth. We do this deliberately. There's no surprises for any subsequent city councils, for any subsequent mayors. You see that gradual decrease with plenty of capacity to do more as the needs arise. So you've looked at where we are now. I want to give you some insight as into what we're planning for the future and the future debt issuances. This is the general government debt issuance I referenced earlier. We anticipate at this time it'll be about $90 to $120 million. And you see the projects that will be included. East Tampa Recreational Complex, Fire Station number 24, public safety training facilities. I won't read the entire slide, but we'll be bringing this to you in the very near future, and a reimbursement resolution. You've seen these reimbursement resolutions before, and we'll brief you on them before we bring them to you. But what you can anticipate is a document that says, we're going to expedite these projects. We're not going to wait for the debt issuance. But when we start spending money for these projects, when we get that bond, when we get that commercial paper, whatever it is, we're going to pay ourselves back. We do this so we can move faster, so we don't have to wait for all of the logistics and detail associated with a major debt issuance. We'll explain more, but you've seen it before. Again, this allows us to get out of the starting gate much faster. It's a reimbursement resolution. You'll hear it again. You'll hear it again in this presentation because we have a few. Moving on to the PIPES program. Again, a very significant debt issuance, the third one for the PIPES program. Upwards of $300 million. Again, we're moving very, very fast, and that's good, but we don't want to move so fast that we don't have the necessary funding in place, but we also don't want to bring in a bunch of funding that we can't spend. What you don't want to do is hold on to a great deal of debt service with those interest charges while you're not getting things done. We're speedy, but depending on how fast we continue to move, it will be a next year or fiscal year 24 debt issuance. But again, all planned, all part of the overall 20-year, nearly $3 billion program, and this will be a little over $300 million. Again, we'll telegraph these and brief you ahead of time, but I do want to give you some insight. And the solid waste debt issuance. We have a great deal to do in the solid waste department, not the least of which is relocating that section from Spruce Street. We've talked about that before. It's going to be expensive. You got the waste to energy plant is going to be an expensive proposition. You see $220 million. Again, we'll telegraph it. We'll brief you. It is our intent, again, to do a reimbursement resolution so we can hit the ground running and get the beginnings of these projects going. We have discussed a rate study associated with the solid waste needs. We'll discuss that more in the future. And that's a hefty lift, but a needed lift. And the stormwater debt issuance, a great deal of work needed there also. Continuing that neighborhood infrastructure project I discussed earlier. You are aware of some of these already: Lamb Canal, Gulfview Estates, flooding in the lower peninsula southeast region. Again, a reimbursement resolution we'll bring to you, we'll brief you. Big projects, big plans, it's going to take big money. And the budget calendar. As you heard earlier, we've got a budget workshop later on this month. Looking forward to that. Please don't wait until the budget workshop to ask any questions you have. Hopefully it goes without saying. I'm always available. My team is always available. Please reach out. It is a $1.9 billion budget. It is by necessity complex and expansive, okay? We're here to help guide you through that, so please reach out. And then, of course, we'll be there at the budget workshop. You see the two public hearings are scheduled. Looking forward to those also. And there is the link I referenced earlier. We can also send it to you where you have the budget, you have those interactive maps, you have the detail. Before I open it up to questions, if I may though, as we're all aware, it's a very challenging environment. We've got global challenges, we've got national challenges, we've got local challenges. We're experiencing the highest inflation in 40 years. We may be in a recession as we speak. I don't need to belabor the affordable housing issues. As we've said before, the community investment tax is going away. The all for transportation tax, we'll see, we'll cross our fingers and hope for the best. But as you heard the mayor say, as you've heard me say before, and I anticipate you'll hear me say again, despite all of these headwinds, we've got a very, very sound financial plan. The city is in good shape. Due in part to this planning on debt service, due in part to these rating agencies, due in part to the strong general fund balance, to the management of the various departments and programs by leadership and their teams, by city council, by the mayor. So we've got a carefully crafted and finely balanced budget we're submitting to you. And I don't just mean balanced in revenues and expenditures, because we have to do that by law. If we don't do that, someone else will be presenting the budget to you other than Dennis. But we've got it balanced here. We've got it balanced here. We've got it balanced here. It's finely tuned. The tolerances are tight. So changes in one area, I'll tell you ahead of time, are probably going to necessitate changes in another area. We think we've accounted for the priorities you've given us, that the mayor's given us, that we've heard from in the community. As you've heard the chief of staff say before, the 4 Ps, first and foremost, the public, our valued personnel, our partners, internal partners, external partners, and of course, our policymakers. We think we've accounted for all of that. But we're a major American city, there's a lot going on, and we have a lot of needs. As you know, we developed an OpenGov training class. Thank you to those of you who've attended. I hope you found it useful. Again, there's a lot going on. We're still here to guide you through, but if after taking that class, or even if you haven't taken that class, jump in, look around, and we can answer any specific questions. I've said this already, contact me anytime. I'd like to thank you again. I wouldn't say it if it wasn't true. I genuinely appreciate your efforts. My team, the departments, the mayor, the chief of staff. It's been a great budget year so far with a lot of needs, a lot of challenges, but I think we're in a very good spot. And from here on out, it's prioritization, discussion, and workshops. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rogero. For the public's information, Councilman Vieira will be here. He will be remotely in his office. He is still coughing a little bit. He felt it would be better that he stayed in his office. Councilman Vieira, how you doing? Let the record reflect that Councilman Vieira has joined us. Councilman Carlson will not be here today as he is taking time off. Again, let's remember that we're having a workshop on the 16th to discuss the budget. And Mr. Rogero has said his office is open to any type of conversation any council members would like to have. With that, I will go to Councilman Maniscalco.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Rogero.
Yes, sir.
Your team, the great Mike Perry, everybody that took part in putting this very robust budget together. Mayor Castor, Chief Bennett, thank you for listening to me. I see that I think all my requests were included in the budget.
Yes, sir.
I know that was not time wasted. We sat down, we talked about it. You responded. I appreciate it very much. You know, the city's growing. We have a lot of things that we need to take care of. It's very complicated. But the number one issue that we're facing right now is the housing situation and people that are concerned where they're going to live, if they're going to be on the streets, what's going to happen. I know that the mayor has committed millions of dollars in this forthcoming budget on top of tenant advocacy, everything else that was mentioned. We want to do what's right for the people, do it the right way, so that we don't offer false hope, we offer genuine hope, and we help people with this crisis that we're facing. So I'll stop there, but I just wanted to thank you and everyone publicly for all your hard work in this. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Councilman Goods.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dennis, great presentation as usual.
Thank you.
Before the workshop, I have about 3 questions I want to ask you about. One will be Juneteenth. The other one will be to get a clear understanding of the employees' salaries. I understand about the ATUs, the police and fire, but I have a ton of letters from other employees that are saying that they're not included or their numbers are not where the other unionized people are. So I want to have a discussion about that because that concerns me. To
Understood.
make sure that we're on the right page on that. Lost my train of thought on the last one, but it'll come back. But please, you obviously we schedule an appointment.
Will
I want
do.
to talk about 3 issues I want to talk about.
Yes, sir.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
I'm gonna echo everyone's thanks.
Thank you.
This is my first budget, so getting the first overview is great. But I'm gonna echo the interest in salaries for those not covered by the unions. And I also echo the interest in housing. 5.5 million from the general fund. There's 20 million from elsewhere, but I wanted more money. And so I would love to get with you and so you can explain where that money's going. So I expect to talk about that quite a bit in the workshop.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate everyone's comments, especially yours, Dennis.
Thank you, sir.
You're an outstanding individual. You always do a great presentation, and factually, you're 100% correct. Sometimes you make a mistake, but I don't catch it. However, and reviewing all these things, when you talk about housing and so forth and so on, there's another factor of housing that comes with responsibility and no one's addressed. Just because we built a house, and just because we call it affordable, how really affordable is it? Number 2, what can we do to make it much more acceptable to those that are applying to buy and live in those houses? Like, A, you know, when you buy a house, there's 2 things that come with it. Payment and more payment. Meaning, you gotta upkeep the house, you gotta pay the electricity, you gotta pay your insurance, and if you're close to water, you gotta pay what? Flood insurance. So, one thing is buying a house at a certain price. The next thing is maintaining the house to live in it for your 30 or 40 years. And what I'm looking at is why is it that we don't think out of the box, and I'm sure you might already thought of this, about having some type of a system within the city of Tampa's purview of saying, we're not going to force you to do these things, but these are the things that may be acceptable if you want to do it. Electricity usually runs in a house between $100 to $200 a month. However, if you have solar, that runs you about $25 to $30 a month. So if you install it when you're building, I would imagine you can get a better price than you can if you install it when you're not building, because you're doing one house at a time. If you've got 5 or 6, you might get a discount. And I'm just throwing these things out. That's number 1. Number 2, why is it that all houses that we built have eaves? I asked my question to myself. And the question is, the answer that I give myself is this. An eave is an overhang after the end of the house that's about 18 to 24 inches long. What leaves the house first when you have high winds or compounding hurricanes, I hope we never have, in this area? Because of the current 150, 130, 125 miles an hour wind. What leaves first? The roof, the windows, or the walls? Well, it's got to be the roof. When the roof leaves, what happens to the window? The vacuum takes them down. What happens when they're gone? The sidewalls collapse. Why don't we start some type of a program where we have architects draw something to see who has the best houses without eaves? That way whoever's buying those houses can get a lower rate on the insurance, I believe they should have. And if you have solar, you get a benefit of saving yourself like $100 a month, which would go towards the payment. You know, the federal government has a program, and when you sign up to solar, they give you about a 27, 28% deduction on your federal taxes when you go pay. That's number one. Number two, however, number two may not be too friendly to the city. Because usually when you do that, those taxes that you're collecting and so forth and so on that are added on to the electric bill or whatever, gas or whatever you use, that also goes down. I was paying about $20 a month, now it's $5 a month. So the city has to calculate that going forward, what's going to happen to your revenues. And it's, then back on solar, I'm sure I brought this up before, but we have to do something in the canals to put solar panels to reduce the, especially in close to the water plant, to reduce the amount of evaporation that you have in water. An open body of water, like a reservoir, we usually use 10% to 50% every single day on evaporation. Does that mean I'm out?
Wasn't me. Wasn't me.
Evaporation got me. So what I'm saying is, why don't we start something to do that on our canals, on our reservoir, so that A, the evaporation is much less than 10 or 15%, and you save 6, 7, whatever millions of gallons a day you can to reuse again for the public. You don't have to buy water during times, possibly. Are you pushing that button, Mr. Chairman?
No, Councilman Rand, I'll give you 30 more seconds.
All right, thank you, sir. And I just want to see something done that everybody can use, not only in affordable housing. A house has been built for 20 years that has a capable roof of holding it, they can apply. Anyone that's going to build something or buy something, or even a landlord that's going to do something to the tenants that he has can do that. So these are the things that I always look at. That's the way I think. And so I just like to see if it's possible. I'm not saying you have to do it. It would be advantageous if we had some type of a program to help the people help themselves, not believe in everything we're going to do, so that they have the right to say choose or not choose. We're not saying you got to do it, but if you don't do it, I don't know how long you're going to live in that house, because the way wages are, they don't keep up with prices of anything. When you look at electric cars and you start buying them, you're going to realize you pay a lot more for them than you do for something that's combustible. However, you get a much longer use of the car, and certainly your expenses on fuel and oil changes and replacement of the radiator, you're going to save because they don't have any. So these are the things that I try to extend myself to personally, and I try to share it with others to start doing something to help yourself. Don't ask the government to do everything. Ask yourself what you can do for the government and make it better. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Vieira.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Mr. Rajero, thank you for your presentation. Like others have said, you're always a pleasure to work with. I remember first working with you in the fiscal year 18 budget in 2017, and you're always diligent and a professional, and I always appreciate you. And I appreciate all the people sitting behind you as well, who help to make our city run, department heads and others. Just know that you are all appreciated, and I appreciate you. One of the things that I see here is we're addressing an ongoing storm and then a future storm in this budget. The future potential storm, of course, of fiscal havoc. We don't know what's going to happen with the economy. People mention the R word, recession, a lot. We don't know what's going to happen. So it's good to be fiscally sensible in a time when we can use funds for reserves, et cetera, because we don't know what the future holds, but we know that there always are going to be necessities in the future that have to be funded regardless of what happens. With regards to the present storm that others have mentioned with affordable housing, it's good to see funds in that. We can have a discussion on that, et cetera. This is a large overview of the budget, so we'll get a little bit more into the weeds. I'm glad to see also the Fire Station 24, something that's very, very important. This council and this city have gotten behind the idea of a public safety master plan where we take a look at all of our city, see where our present deficits are, see where our future deficits are, and having that long-term vision with both police and fire. I think the biggest critical deficit that we have through our city, obviously, is with fire stations. So I know we'll have a very good discussion on that. But again, I just wanted to thank everybody behind you and you, sir, for your professionalism and for all your hard work. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. O'Hara, you've heard nothing but great things from council members, and I too thank you.
Thank you.
For the great job that you have done for us on this budget presentation, and I look forward to working with you. You and I have had many conversations.
Yes, sir.
On what I'm looking for out of this budget. Housing, not long-term, but what we can do as soon as possible. Number two, our workforce. You've heard me many, many times saying we need more. Where more people are coming to the city, we need more workforce. Permitting, inspections, fire, police, because through attrition, we're having people leaving, retiring, and whatnot. And it seems to me that it's starting to be middle management in everything, and we need to keep those positions filled. Resiliency. As Councilman Miranda mentioned, but not only for the citizens, but also for the city of Tampa.
Yes, sir.
Let's show the world what we can do as far as saving our energy, clean energy. I look forward to working with you, your staff, in the future, and I look forward to a robust conversation on the 16th.
Thank you, sir,
Mr.
as
O'Hara.
do we. Thank you.
Chief, you want to make mention of a,
Thank you, Chairman. John Bennett, Chief of Staff. From sitting in and of course the administration and other leaders sitting through public comment, we felt that it was responsible in working with the Office of Community Engagement to have a representative here from Janelle's office for every meeting. That way, when there is public comment that requires some immediate action, they can be triaged and worked with immediately. Janelle is going to have, particularly today, Mr. Frank Crum available. So if anything surfaces from public comment, because I know council is limited in the engagement for public comment, especially when there may be so many of them on so many critical things. But right in the hallway, we can take that information, triage it, figure out what we can do, and at least refer or handle those things immediately on behalf of council and the city. And hopefully that level of service will continue. And I want to thank Janelle's office and Osia's office for bringing that opportunity forward.
thank you, Chief, and thank you, Mr. Crum, for taking on this mission. Yes, Councilwoman Hurtak.
I want to say thank you for that. I love the idea of having someone here that can take that information. And I know also they have these for folks to pick up. This is the housing hotline number and some flyers that to make sure you share with the community. So if you don't have time to stop and give your information today, that will be available. Thank you.
And at this time, we will be taking public comment. Anybody that wishes to give public comment this morning, if you could please form a line on my left, your right. And ladies and gentlemen, before we start, there is also people waiting downstairs to give public comment. So after you give your public comment, would you please exit out through these doors so that we may allow other people to come in and give their comment. I'm going to ask that when you speak, please give your name, and if you are a citizen, a resident of the city of Tampa. Ms. Burton.
Good morning, Connie Burton. This is my great-granddaughter, Lamaria Calloway. And the reason I want to turn
And
this
you are a
in,
citizen, a resident of the city of Tampa.
I most certainly am.
Thank you, Ms. Burton.
And so the reason why I want to turn here present with me this morning, because as we are talking about comprehensive plans that going to expand for maybe up into 2045, and we're dealing with this budget this morning, I am of the impression that people are not still hearing the dire need of this community. We cannot talk about a $5.5 million budget, a set aside of funding for housing, when that is the most greatest issue of today. Number one, Tampa, Hillsborough County is number one in recidivism of people coming from prison and turning around basically because why? Can't find jobs, can't find housing. And so they might be part of the population that's on the lower bar. But right now, people that have Section 8 vouchers, it does them no good to call the hotline. If the hotline cannot provide a housing mechanism for these individuals, then we're just playing games. That if this city and the mayor in particular is more focused on development for home ownership, what do that say about the rest of working class people that cannot buy houses at this time? We have a dire crisis that requires you all to think out the box. You all to demand that that budget be looked at more forthrightly that will provide housing for working class people in ways in which people can have dignity in living. We hear never a mention of duplexes, quadplexes, anything of that sort, because you know why? Developers are not interested in that. And so I don't want to accuse the administration or you guys of just being deep pocket in the hands of developers, but this is a capitalist society, and so where the revenue and profit, that's where the interest lies. We're hoping that that budget be reworked, and that if you have listened to us for the past 2 or 3 years more, then housing will be top priority, not just in conversation, but with more funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burton.
Uhuru. Uhuru means freedom in Swahili. And we say we as African people should always be thinking about our freedom. One thing you have to know about politicians and dealing with African people, politicians are pimps, none more, none less. And you hear the way they treat the people, a $2 billion budget, $5 million they talk about housing. Everybody in here is, oh, my sincere apologies. Everyone here is lined up about housing. And $5 million insult, that's what that is, what they say. And then they say they got 20 million or 30 million on the side somewhere. But a $2 billion budget, $1.9 billion. But the fact of the matter is we're 26% of this population. We Africans in this city of Tampa is 26% of this population. So we want $520 million out of the budget. Plain and simple. I don't care what we do with it. If we bought beer, ice cream, twerk with it, whatsoever. Whatsoever we did with it, it's our business. So we have to start there, and we have to start retroactively in what we're owed in reparations for this city. You have to talk reparations. The problem isn't landlords. The problem isn't teenage delinquents. The problem isn't bicycle stops, and the problem isn't homelessness. It's only one problem, and one problem only. That problem is capitalism, imperialism, venture capitalism. The problem is exactly how the ruling class organized society in order to keep all the wealth, resources, ingenuity, medicine, land, materials, environment, technology, space exploration, and everything else for themselves. The problem is 11% of the white population in the world using and taking for themselves 81% of the world's resources. The problem is an 18% pay increase that this city seen police and fire got last week. That's one of the problems. Where they do that at? Where you get an 18% increase on your job or whop just like that? It don't happen. The problem is them willing to use any type of force to run the world, military minds in the form of business people, corporate executives, church leaders, teachers, physicians, little old ladies, LGBT, right wing, left wing, white moderates, white nationalists, abortion rights, anti-abortion. The problem is capitalism. The problem is capitalism reinventing itself from serfdom to chattel slavery to wage earnership to now high technology. That's what they're doing. Capitalism reinventing itself. And the problem for us as African people is reparations. The problem isn't having a $1.9 billion budget and say $5 million insult for people dealing with housing. You can go outside and see what the housing situation's like. People sleeping on the sidewalk that we seen on our way here to City Council. That's deplorable. Absolutely. Thank
Mr.
you.
Daniels, you are a resident of the city of Tampa, aren't you? Thank you.
Good morning, City Council. Chloe Coney. I live 2303 Bandy Drive, that's in the county, but I have built enough houses, apartments, gotten people jobs, and children to college. I was raised in West Tampa, so I know about the urban core, okay? So again, first of all, I want to thank you, City Council, for your vote last week to allow the citizens to vote, to let them speak, to let their voice be heard. I commend all of you and thank you, City Councilman Orlando Goose, for starting that, okay? So I tip my hat off all to you. Because see, when we're talking about recession and the Great Recession, and I have worked the last 50 years, we've never been in a time where the whole world was shut down with COVID. And we know who was hit the hardest. It was the poor, low income, and moderate people. They took the brunt of this. So I'm saying that thank you, because you're not worried about a lawsuit. You're worried about the people themselves. I'm standing here because enough is enough. I get enough calls. I got family members that may be out on the street because their rent is increasing. You know all the problems. So we can't sit around here and do nothing. We cannot do nothing. So again, City Council, you are doing what is right. And we can say that we look at cities like Washington, D.C. and New York, they have rent control, but developers still building houses. So we know it could be done. And again, we know laws can be changed. All we have to do is look at Roe versus Wade. And we know that the laws can be changed. So we can change this. We heard Representative Diane Hart last week said, work with us in Tallahassee. I believe that they will hear our cry in Tallahassee. If not, like you're doing here, let the people vote. And like I like to say, what you're doing is you're saving lives. For those seniors that are sitting out here that you've heard them speak, you're saving them from going homeless. To the mothers that have to live in motels and don't have anywhere to stay. And most of all, one of my saddest, and I'm going to end with this, case is where mothers and children are in cars and dying. So again, let's save lives. And again, I commend you. I want to say that, you City Council. Thank you for your courage. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Council. My name is...
I apologize. I just had gotten some news here, which I'll relate later. Thank you very much.
Yes, good morning. My name is David Sinclair, 8434 Pebble Circle. I live in the county. However, I'm here today representing LULAC, the League of United Latin American Citizens. I'm the deputy council, the deputy director of the local LULAC council. I'm here to read the statement of our local council to the city council here in Tampa. We have decided and voted on the following statement before the eminent body here, that we are in support of the establishment of the Tenant Advocacy Office under the auspices of the City of Tampa to facilitate the promotion of the tenants' rights, which includes rent stabilization measures, to the declaration of the housing state of emergency, also a 120-day notice of rent rate increases at or above 5%, and the creation of a landlord complaint registry, and the right to legal counsel for negatively impacted tenants facing evictions. We are a statewide organization, but we also have members here in the city of Tampa, and we're here before you because we believe this is a significant moral issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Craig Birchfield. I'm a resident of the city of Tampa. I'm here as a member of the Tampa Tenants Union and also the Party for Socialism and Liberation. I'm also here in solidarity with my comrades and fellow community members calling for action on housing and abortion. I think it's important to acknowledge there are two groups of people that are often represented, that are only represented in this room, because these two groups have very different interests on each of these issues. On one hand, there's the ruling class, landlords, developers, bosses, and business owners, and politicians and police that protect their interests. On the other hand, there's us, the working class, who have had to beg the council to scrounge up an ounce of political will to take action for our interests time and time again. I do want to acknowledge that with the exception of Councilman Carlson, the council's decision to start the process of putting rent control on the ballot is appreciated. At the same time, the working class in the city, we're too familiar with empty promises and compromise in favor of the ruling class. So you'll understand that we can't afford to let our guard down. We can't afford to not be militant about these issues. Because right now, the working class of Tampa faces multiple crises. The greed of the ruling class prices us out of our homes and forces us to make impossible choices about which bills to pay. The ruling class's need for a domestic labor supply and their fascist ideology threatens our bodily autonomy and access to health care. The dependence of the ruling class and the violence of TPD to protect their profits and property have robbed us of resources that could be enriching and housing our community. The council has an opportunity to stand with the working class on each of these issues by ensuring that rent control is on the ballot in November, supporting and allocating funding for city-owned social housing, tenant protections, and housing first programs, passing an ordinance to decriminalize abortions, and ending the tyranny of TBD on our communities and, most importantly, our budget. If you're concerned about community safety, I saw that the TPD is still 36% of that general budget or whatever it may be. Maybe we should start taking money from them and allocate it to housing because, as other people have said, $5 million is honestly a slap in the face. It's not enough. We don't need more tanks and we don't need more gear for our cops. What we need is housing. What we need is community safety. We can have a Tampa that works for the working class, a city that we can truly be proud of, and one that sets an example for the rest of our state suffering from a fascist state government. Or we can continue to have a Tampa that answers only to money. I ask that the council show us continued action, that you stand with the working class and against those whose interests are counter to our well-being. We, the working class, are organizing, and through that collective power, we will hold each of you accountable for the actions you take on these matters. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mirko Otto. I'm not a resident of Tampa. I'm a landlord in Tampa. I'm resident in Pinellas County. I'm a legal immigrant from Germany, causing my accent. Sorry for that.
Guten Morgen. Guten Morgen.
Oh, thank you. We have several objects in Tampa Bay. One of this is West River Flats, 135-unit community in West River. We have a lot of voucher tenants, Section 8 tenants, and we appreciate them and give them, of course, housing. So that's what we, as a private landlord, are doing. All our staff and every of our object is dedicated to help people if they have difficulties. If the tenant works with the office there, for instance, with my Florida, which expired, I think, right now in the last month or so, then we could avoid every single one who worked with them to get evicted. So we share the helpline you mentioned with our tenants. One example why rents go up is just West River Flats. The property taxes going up, not on, going up to by $253,624.74 in the last year. If I count that to the units, then roughly every unit pays $200 more just for tax increase. That's not including the insurance increase, that's not including the increase we have in salaries for our staff on site, which we want and will always pay decently. The supply, I want to say something from my personal experience. I'm from Berlin, Germany, and in Berlin, Germany, they introduced a rent cap, basically, a couple of years ago. And in the months the law was implemented, the supply was down by about 60%. I repeat, 60%. So 60% less units to rent doesn't do any good for the community and for the renters in this community. And of course, what is result is nobody will invest anymore if you don't have to. And that's what I say you should not implement the rent control in Tampa. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Peyton Hoey, and I'm a resident of Tampa and a proud member of the Tenants Union. I am here today because the working people of Tampa have been suffering under a housing emergency for almost 2 years now. And right now, we've reached a turning point. The City Council has the ability to dramatically improve the situation of tenants in the City of Tampa by creating a Tenants Advocacy Office and by allowing the people of Tampa to vote on a rent control measure to curb rents in this city. I implore you all to push for strong rent control language in this referendum to meet the crisis that we are in. Now is the time to take decisive action on the side of the people and not bow down to the agenda of developers and landlords who care more about their bottom line than they ever will about this city and its residents. Ultimately, it should be left to the people of Tampa to decide as they make the city run. It is the teachers, the bus drivers, the servers, the baristas, the custodians, and so many others that are the heart of the city, yet forcibly displaced through the unjust rent spikes. We demand the lowest possible percentage, not a dime more than 5%, and more money for public, city-owned housing in the upcoming budget. A tenants advocacy office would also be an important step toward housing justice in Tampa, as too often do landlords exploit their tenants with illegal threats of eviction. I've seen cases time and time again where tenants don't realize they can fight back against wrongful evictions and unlawful lease termination, or do not have the resources they need to do so. Therefore, this investment in tenant advocacy is a necessary step for the city. If City Council puts a serious rent control measure on the ballot, working class people will show up and vote for it. The people are ready for rent control to be on the ballot, and the people are ready to see the city take a more active role in fighting the housing emergency. The people are ready to have an office that advocates for the rights of tenants. The people are ready to see public housing be funded instead of handouts to private developers and businesses. And you are here on the people's behalf. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Princess Mendoza. I'm a resident of Tampa, and I've been a property manager for about 13 years here in the state of Florida. Today I will be talking about the rent control from the landlord's point of view. Inflation has not only affected residents by being forced to pay a higher rent increase in the past 2 years, but has also made a huge financial impact on us as landlords as well. For example, our property taxes have increased over 37% in the last year. The cost for basic materials just to be able to maintain the property increased by 15% due to supply and demand. It has been a struggle to even find basic materials at a much higher cost just to be able to still provide our residents with the best living experiences possible. Our utility consumption has gone up by an average of 15% due to higher utility rates and residents' lifestyle changes. Many residents have been working from home, therefore our consumption has increased considerably in the past 2 years. Our company understands that our employees are also consumers and have also been affected by the economy. We have made the decision to raise salaries, which also have caused a higher payroll cost. Despite this cost increases, we have been doing all we can to help our residents through difficult times that we are in. Our property welcomes Section 8 residents, which right now it makes up to 41% of our leased units. Over the last couple of years, we have also worked with residents to get them help from our Florida and the R3 program. And we plan to do the same with the city's rental assistance program. We also have not increased our rental prices in the past 5 months, not because we were forced by some government mandate, but because we want to help our residents. Tying our hands with rent control creates uncertainty if we can balance even higher costs in the future, which will make it harder for us to be able to help our residents. So I'm asking to please do not pass that ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Robert Griffiths. I'm a 20-year resident of Tampa. When I first came to Tampa 35 years ago, I was very involved with the Bay Area Apartment Association. I grew to be a former president of the Bay Area Apartment Association, and will tell you that the Bay Area Apartment Association is very much in favor of trying to work things out in an amicable situation. They do work with City Council. Some of my people from behind me have actually been on some of your meetings before. Bay Area Apartment Association cares about their residents. They want to make sure that things are all right. But I asked City Council to look at a few things on the other side, if you will, of rent control. Rent control in other cities has created some problems. If you look at St. Paul, Minnesota, it actually stopped a lot of the growth. And I commend the city, the council, the mayor, for the growth that you're trying to do in Tampa. I think you're doing a wonderful job with the growth. You're trying to bring in new businesses, new people. In doing that, you need apartments. Apartments are here to try to help residents and try to work through these things. Landlords do have expenses, just like the residents do. Landlords have taxes that increase, their expenses are increased all the time. So I realize there's got to be a balance. So I hope that you'll look at things like Sadowski Fund back in Tallahassee is a fund that has created a fund to try to help for low-income residents for housing. But yet, for years, they took the money from Sadowski and took it and did other things with it. I ask you to look at Tallahassee to try to help you in your growth and to try to find ways to get your money that you need for your growth for new apartments. Apartments are important. With your growth, you have to have people for housing. So I would hope that you'll look at Tampa Bay. Please work with the Bay Area Apartment Association. There are two sides of every story. I appreciate your time. Thank you for your help.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chris Carlson. I'm a City of Tampa resident. I'm a hospital social worker, and I'm a member of the Tampa Democratic Socialists of America. I'm here to voice support for a resolution Tampa DSA drafted in collaboration with Councilmember Hurtak regarding decriminalizing abortion citywide. As we all know, the robe-wearing medieval magistrates on the Supreme Court have decided it is within their power to write away our basic rights to health care and bodily autonomy. As a result, the writing is on the wall from Tallahassee when it comes to criminalizing abortion. With the passing of House Bill 5 for many pregnant people in Florida, it's already criminalized. I can tell you, my patients are scared. My colleagues working in healthcare are scared, and I am scared. I am scared I am soon going to live in a world where my patients won't be allowed access to the full range of reproductive health care they need and deserve. I am scared innocent people will be thrown in jail. I am scared thousands of healthcare workers will no longer want to work in Florida. And I'm scared people are going to die. Guaranteed access to abortion is a deciding factor in long-term health, safety, and quality of life. This is basic public health. Eliminating that access is cruel and deadly. Enforcing its criminalization, no matter what Tallahassee says or may end up saying, would be the work of cowards. I've just been notified that State Attorney Andrew Warren has been suspended by Governor Ron DeSantis for his actions in the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County, and I commend him for him taking a stand. The City Council's support for this resolution is the bare minimum, but it would signal to the Tampa community that the council is publicly willing to defend our basic liberties against those who are viciously trying to take them away. This resolution also provides a framework for something more, something binding and tangible. This is only a first step. This fight is just the beginning, and I assure you, you'll be hearing from me and Tampa DSA again. Thank you to everybody who supports this resolution, and thank you to Councilmember Hurtak for having the courage to put it forward. Another thing, Every day I go to work in the hospital, I am face to face with patients who are homeless or on the brink of homelessness. Patients regularly tell me they feel their government has abandoned them, that they have no options, that they're done bouncing from homeless shelter to homeless shelter, and they don't know how they're going to carry on. Solidarity with everyone here who is courageously fighting for better housing conditions, and solidarity forever. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Eliza Perez, and I'm a resident of Tampa. I'm also a member of the Tampa Democratic Socialists of America. The protection of human rights for all individuals is very important to the DSA, and we declare that access to safe and legal abortions is a human right. Anti-abortion legislation is a threat to the health, safety, and quality of life of any individual who can become pregnant. Individuals who can become pregnant in many instances are already a marginalized group, and now for so many of them across this country, their bodily autonomy has been taken away as well. If they happen to get pregnant, they are then expected to care for another human being, but at the same time are being told that they are not capable of making decisions about their own bodies. We expect them to take on sudden life-altering responsibilities, but they are not valued and seen as independent and capable by their own government. This is especially true for low-income communities and people of color who are most adversely affected by anti-abortion legislation. On top of all this, recent legislations in Florida have been vague, confusing, and inconsistent with what we have in place already. Sex education textbooks are close to being rejected in schools because of parents' rights in education. HB 5 bans abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy, without exceptions in cases of rape, incest, and sex trafficking. This bill violates rights to privacy under the state constitution, as we saw the bill was initially halted by the Florida Supreme Court. I cannot comprehend living in a community where sex education is threatened and reproductive health care is limited. The people who will be most affected by this, of course, are marginalized communities and children. A limit on abortion, such as HB 5, is dangerous. In that worst case scenario, a victim cannot terminate their pregnancy in their own state unless they are literally dying from that pregnancy. I do not understand how this is considered pro-life, and every day I question how this is happening in an advanced society such as ours. The members of the Tampa DSA do not accept any limits on abortion and reproductive health care. We demand access to safe and legal abortions for all individuals at any time for any reason. Today, I'm urging the council to vote on passing a resolution that was drafted in collaboration with Ms. Hertag, and that my fellow DSA members worked so hard on and did an amazing job with. Recent polls show that most Floridians support access to safe abortions, and I think your decision today should be a reflection of what the people want. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, council members. My name is David Sigler. I am a local business owner. I am not a Tampa resident. However, over the last 15 years, I have managed thousands of properties in the Tampa Bay community and surrounding counties. We have dealt with landlords who are accidental landlords. We have dealt with mom and pop investors. We have dealt with small funds as well as the institutional class. We currently deal with 5 or 6 housing authorities in multiple counties, so we're very familiar with the programs that are out there, the housing situations that are occurring, and are concerned as many as the citizens in this room. However, my question is, what is the emergency we are addressing here? We have a declaration for an emergency. Is that because rents are too high? Is that because there's not enough units to be rented? That answer ultimately will drive what you guys are being asked to do here. The studies we have seen regarding rent control do not offer solutions for more housing. They do just the opposite. They reduce the amount of housing that is there. Just like many of these residents, our owners of these homes and of these multifamily units are experiencing the same increases in milk, gas, insurance costs, taxes. So if we're going to limit the ability to pay for that housing is going to go away, which is going to exponentially increase the problem, which I believe is the reason for the emergency. So I'd ask at a minimum, we define what this emergency really is. Is it the cost or is it the number of units? Moving forward with that as well, I believe, based on my experience over the past 15 years and working with multiple counties and cities, that there is yet to be offered an incentive to work with this and create solutions for this, whether that's a reduction in taxes for people who are offering to rent, whether that are different incentives to encourage people to bring more units into the rental space. Maybe that's an additional on zoning. Trying to get a small multifamily triplex, quadplex is impossible. We have investors lined up that would gladly offer those units. Those are generally lower income units just based on the size and necessity of them. So there are multiple other ways that this can be addressed. Truly believe that rent control is not one of them. There is a crisis out there, but let's define what that is so we can better define how we fix it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good morning, council. My name is Harrison Lundy. I live right outside of Tampa, so not exactly a resident, but I am representing the Tampa Democratic Socialists of America, as well as Florida for Change. I was here last week to comment on the TPD raise and the housing crisis, and so I'm here this week to stress those things. As you know, many of us have been fighting for this for several years, and so I want to make it clear, especially to the mayor's office, the decision of last week to declare a housing state of emergency was not made because the city council was feeling nice. It was made because of community pressure. And since nobody on the council comes to our actions, I do check sometimes. I literally ask if any city council members are there, nobody's there. We had to bring the action to them. And so I stand proudly with the community that has been doing this work for months and years on end. And so with that said, I still am a little bit confused because millions more is going towards TPD as opposed to further addressing affordable housing. I guess it's something to declare a state of emergency, but we have to ask ourselves, is that really all we can do? Say there's an issue, throw our hands up, and then throw $5 million at the way? Like people were saying, that's a slap in the face. Because this fiscal plan may look good to some people, but us in the organizing space know that we are capable of more. Because working class people are suffering. Houseless people are suffering. Folks don't have the time to worry about the intricacies of a budget when they're worried that their landlord could kick them out at any moment. When it comes to the quality of housing, let's remember where Tampa is geographically. It's time for Green New Deal union jobs that transfer more of our energy from electric to solar. I think we need to look into the fact that to create more public affordable housing, we need to start giving TICO the boot. Because do we think a police department is going to keep our houseless community better or safe better than a community housing program? And that thing is that I don't know. And like I said last week, we don't have any evidence before me that TPD would support or even cooperate with affordable housing. That's why we need to be pushing for a non-faith-based, unconditional community housing program, much like what is being done in Texas right now in certain cities. Money is going towards housing, so I guess let's not discount that. But as far as I can tell, it looks like we're just making the issues look pretty as opposed to making them gone. Additionally, I know myself and other folks at DSA are encouraging you to look into creating more ordinances around abortion access. I know I myself would like to push for a recreation of the GRACE Act like has been done in Austin, Texas. In addition to housing, community policing, and more, abortion access remains unclear in current Tampa politics based on people that we talk to, again, on the ground. We've researched into other cities before, and so it is time to address the issue of abortion because remember what state we live in. Remember the leadership of the state. And so this leads me into my last message, which is that, again, 2023 is an election year, and I know that there are certain people who push that is not a big deal. It most certainly is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andrew Dougill, and I'm a resident of the City of Tampa, and I'm here to speak about the proposed rent control ordinance. I've lived in the City of Tampa since the mid-1980s, and I love our city. I'm a realtor and also a small private landlord in the city. Now, realtors, we don't have pension plans, we don't have 401ks, we have what we call the realtor retirement plan. You have a good year in real estate and you put a down payment on a rental property. And we hope that over the years, as we get towards retirement, that those rental properties we purchase will generate enough income so we can actually get to retire. Now, recently I've been hearing a lot of negative stories about landlords, and I want to try and correct that perception. I've met thousands of private landlords over the years, and most of them are very compassionate and caring about their tenants. I can count on the fingers of one hand the bad landlords that I've met. If my tenant gets home tonight, this evening, and their home's 100 degrees, I'm going to take that call. And my next call is going to be to try to find a AC company that can get out there and get that AC fixed tonight so they can have a cool house and can sleep. And I'll take that call for any urgent maintenance at 6 p.m. or 10 p.m. or 2 a.m. any day of the week or the weekend. I own a single-family home in South Tampa that I rent for $8.75 a month. Now, if you know South Tampa, you'll know that's a very low rent. But my tenants are wonderful people. They've rented from me for 19 years, and I know that's all they can afford. Eventually, when they decide to leave, I'll be able to raise the rent and stop losing money. Unless Tampa implements rent control. The future is uncertain, and landlords like me worry about our future costs if we're constrained by rent control. And because of that uncertainty and Tampa's hot real estate market, many small private landlords may choose to sell. And that's my concern with rent control. There are thousands of small landlords in the city of Tampa. And if they choose to sell, that's going to be thousands of rental units out of the rental inventory. That's going to hurt the very people we're trying to help, the people that want to live and rent in our city. Please don't implement rent control. Instead, let's use the enhanced tax revenues to provide rental assistance to the people that need it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jordan Brooks. I'm a Hillsborough County resident, not Tampa. So thank you for the opportunity to provide comment this morning on the rent control measure. I'm a senior market analyst for ALN Apartment Data, which is a multifamily data provider and market research firm in the space. I've been in the apartment industry for almost 10 years, both in Texas and now in Tampa. And I've gotten to know some amazing people in the industry during that time, not only at meetings, conferences, trade shows, but also community service events and continuing education courses where people are trying to improve their skill sets to improve their services. It was inspiring to see how so many in the industry responded to the unprecedented challenge of the pandemic. Custom payment plans, waived late fees, helping residents figure out what aid may be available to them and how to access it, and other measures were widespread in the industry. My experience in this industry has been worlds away from the common corporate greed caricatures. The incredible people that work in the apartment industry are neighbors, constituents, and members of the community who take pride in working in an industry that does something as critical as provide homes for people. Though explosive rent growth over the last year to year and a half has exacerbated a real affordability issue, this rent growth has been fueled by market forces, well-meaning policy, and broader economic influences. Widespread inflation, fast rising labor costs, and supply chain issues have led to delays and higher costs across the board. Just about everything costs more right now for everyone, including landlords. This rent growth issue has also not been unique to Tampa or even to Florida. This has been a nationwide problem in markets with rent control and markets without rent control. A major supply-demand imbalance was created last year when almost twice as many units were newly leased in Tampa than were delivered. That was the main driver of the rent growth that we've seen in the time since. Vacancy has slowly been trending up for months now, taking pressure off of rent growth. More than 6,500 new units in our market have been delivered through July of this year, more than in any other year of the last 5. And that is also going to take pressure off of rent growth. In other words, the market has already started to rebalance itself. In the rush to just do something to solve a problem, it is also in everyone's interest to make sure the problem actually gets solved. Talking with operators in rent-controlled markets, I know how frustrated they are to keep their operations even running, and many are looking to exit those markets, which again reduces supply. Tampa needs to continue the trajectory of investment and new housing development we're on, and not copy a policy that we know will send that investment away. Rent control ultimately reduces housing supply and renovation of existing stock, and the crux of the rent issue is a supply issue. The difference between the intent of an ordinance and its effect can be large. Please vote no today to avoid causing unintended but predictable harm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Ron Badalaro. I'm with the Tampa chapter of Democratic Socialists of America. I appreciate the opportunity to speak in support of passing our resolution on abortion decriminalization drafted in collaboration with Councilmember Hurtak. I would like to share a brief personal story that I think is part of a larger concern. A little less than 9 years ago, my girlfriend at the time found out that I had a relapse with drug and alcohol addiction. I was an IV opioid abuser struggling to stay clean. I decided I should stop hiding this fact and let her know so she could have an informed decision about her pregnancy. While we were very much in love, she decided she did not want to have a baby with somebody who would likely die of a drug overdose, among other things. She terminated her pregnancy medicinally. She also decided she was going to stay with me despite my lies and deceit and help me on the path to recovery. She was starting her career as a teacher, and ever studious, she returned all the books she bought on babies and replaced them with books on recovery. She then ordered me into a 12-step program where I was able to get clean, stay clean, work the program with a sponsor, and a higher power of my understanding. She was able to make a choice, not to live a life plagued by the horrors of being shackled to a loved one living with addiction. She has gone on to touch many lives in serious ways as an award-winning special education teacher. I will be 9 years clean and sober in December. Thank you. Together we have 2 beautiful daughters and a life I never dreamed of. There are so many people orphaned by addiction. My niece is one of them. I lost my brother in February. There are so many burdens being carried by grandparents and so many children slipping through the cracks all around us. Safety nets are being pulled out from under us, while more resources go to mechanisms of brutality, oppression, and exploitation. Supports for the millions like my brother and I are few and inadequate. I believe things happen for a reason. I have a higher power. I believe this power wanted us to wait, and I believe that everyone should have that choice. And I stand here also in solidarity with those seeking rent control. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, sir. Sir, Bill W. came up with a great program, didn't he?
Yes, absolutely.
Good morning, Council. My name is Getulio Gonzalez Militieri. I am a citizen and resident of the city. I want to make it abundantly clear that that Governor DeSantis is a fascist coward, and in the city of Tampa, fascists aren't welcome. But to the issues of the hour, housing is a fundamental human right. That's according to the UN Human Rights Council. That's not according to me. So I'd like to begin by commending City Council for having the foresight and the courage to put the declaration of a housing state of emergency on the ballot. That was awesome. However, the work is far from done. It is vital that the language reflected in the ordinance meets the unprecedented needs of the moment. 11 of 20 cities with the highest rate of rent increases of the nation are in Florida. Thanks, Governor DeSantis. 11. The Tampa, Clearwater, St. Petersburg area ranks 5th in the nation. A report in May it said that housing affordability in Tampa has decreased by 36.1%. This doesn't have to be the case. With rent stabilization measures in place, the housing market will cool while more affordable housing is built to meet the city's needs, but we also have to be creative in our search for solutions. Cities across the country have invested heavily in emergency rental assistance programs. The city of Chicago has invested $8 million towards their emergency rental assistance program alone. That's excluding any other housing programs. Okay, they've also taken the bold stance to seal any eviction records of people who have been evicted during this period. I think that's something that's worth looking into, especially as people are being displaced during these tumultuous times. Cleveland and Philadelphia have also stepped up through the implementation of a tenant landlord remediation ordinance. So basically, before somebody's evicted, there's a 30-day remediation counseling process between the landlord and the tenant to avoid eviction. That's an awesome eviction diversionary program. And they've also partnered with, they've also implemented, cities across the nation implemented right to legal counsel and partnerships with NGOs and eviction diversion programs. The aforementioned programs have been able to function the way that they do through the unequivocal support of the Biden-Harris administration. So you are not alone. All right, it's time for Tampa and the mayor to step up, for the council and to continue stepping up. $5.5 million for housing affordability isn't enough. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, next speaker, please. And please state your name.
Hey, how y'all doing? My name's David Jones, and I'm a resident of, excuse me. My name's David Jones, and I'm a resident of North Tampa. I came today to speak a bit about the Citizens Review Board meeting that happened last week, where they put forth a motion to recommend that you all put forth a motion to give them the right to subpoena and putting that on the upcoming ballot. I think that's good. That board is built to give real police accountability in our community. And if that board is meant to review what the police is doing, they should be able to have the full ability to do so, especially as we're seeing this 18% increase in these officers' wages, and with the upcoming cop budget for this next year being about 40% of the general fund at $200 million. Especially when, you know, folks have come in these meetings, the last 6 months, saying that the housing crisis is the number one thing. Y'all are saying that the housing crisis is the number one thing. And this budget's only putting up $5.5 million to that, which ends up amounting to 1% of that general fund. You know, that's not enough to fix these issues. You know, all these residents that have come up speaking aren't going to be residents in a year if this housing crisis isn't fixed. You know, excuse me. So talking a bit about the money, there is that 40% going to cops. There is the approximate $20,000 raise that all of y'all are getting, with those salaries going from around $50K to $70K, I believe they said. And you know, once again, we're getting beans from the city. The working people of the city are getting beans, and that's not going to help us out. Somebody else will speak about it in a second, but our group's putting forth an ordinance about the housing that should have been sent to y'all this last week. If it hasn't been, it will be by right now. Just to put more money for that. When y'all wrote that resolution a couple months ago, adding $4 million to the rental assistance program, that only ended up helping, 500 people overall? When y'all added it up to that 500, when y'all got that to $5 million overall. And we see that that hasn't had the impact that it needs to have to really fix the problem and attack the heart of this problem. Just asking that in this budget update that y'all continue to demand more money for housing. Thank you.
Sir, I just wanted to let you know that last week I actually requested legal to prepare and present a draft ordinance to put the Citizen Review Board subpoena power and independent counsel on the ballot. Cool. So I have asked for that. It's coming up to the workshop on September 22nd at 9 a.m.
Cool.
So I just want to let you know.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joe Nahava. I'm a resident of Tampa, and I'm here on behalf of the Tampa Bay Community Action Committee. I'm here today to say a few things about the rent control measure. It's going to be put on the ballot, and the creation of a tenants' rights advocacy office. To you council members, I would say it's about time. And I edited the speech as we were waiting in line, just to counter some of these lovely landlord whinings and lies. The same sort of lies were deployed against things like the minimum wage, right? Where, you know, it was argued that if you force employers to pay a living wage, jobs would disappear, right? Well, I mean, that hasn't happened, right? Nor would housing simply just disappear into the ether if you approve this measure. Besides, what good is housing supply if it's unaffordable and out of reach to the vast majority of working folks, right? And to the landlords and slumlords here, what I would say to them is simply what has been said to so many working class, poor, houseless folks. Why don't you get a real job, right? If you're so concerned about costs. And to the people here watching who took time off each week to come out, I'd say that the reason that this happened, any of this has happened, is because of you. You all have put pressure on them to make this happen. this was never going to happen on its own. When people come out and get organized, they can win great things, like possibly being the first city in the South to enact any form of rent control. I mean, this is supposed to be the city of champions, right? Wouldn't that be a great accomplishment to add to our collection? And on a tenants' rights and advocacy office, we certainly ought to follow the example of cities like Miami, who have leveled the playing field between tenants and landlords, right? By default, landlords have more resources, more legal leverage, and favor in the court system to get their way. And we've seen what landlords are capable of in this city in places like Silver Oaks, right? Rotting apartments, broken appliances, thuggish tactics, and inhumane conditions not fit for animals, much less people. Can you on the council honestly say that given that, the tenants don't need protections from these vicious, greedy slumlords? We make sure that people have legal representation when they're facing criminal charges. Why not when facing similarly serious issue of potential homelessness? Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent, my man. Excellent.
Hello, my name is Nate, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Tampa Bay Community Action Committee. First, I want to speak in favor of the rent control measure that will be on the ballot in November. Rent control is something that people have been coming out here week after week demanding, telling y'all that we need this. This would have never happened without everybody coming out here every week, taking time out of their day to push for this measure and put that pressure. To all the points that some of the landlords have made here today, we're seeing that there are available units here in Tampa. There are plenty, but what we need is more affordable housing units here in Tampa. We don't need another Midtown in West Tampa. We don't need another Channel Side. We don't need to keep tearing down neighborhoods in Temple Terrace and East Tampa to build these luxury apartments. And right down the road from my house, they're building a whole new apartment complex in Town and Country. And it's like this luxury apartment going for like 3.5 like K for a 2-bedroom. Like, that's ridiculous. That's unheard of. That's not what we need more of here in Tampa. I heard y'all talking about how we need to keep people in Tampa. We need more people to work, and building more of these ridiculously expensive housing apartments, housing complexes, and condos, that's not going to keep people in Tampa. People are being pushed out of the city, and if we want to keep people here and working, we got to give them a place to live that they can afford. And so Tampa Bay Community Action Committee, we drafted up that ordinance that David had mentioned. We are proposing to increase that $5 million, which is nothing. That's just the same as last year. I mean, and that's even less because we won't have that COVID funding. We won't have that ERAP fund. And so it's just going down instead of giving us more. And that's happening at the same time as the 18% increase to the police department. A police department that has time and time again shown us that they are racist with the killing of Dominique Mulkey, Jonas Joseph. They are being investigated by the DOJ over the eviction program, over biking while black. I mean, like, they're not where the money needs to be going. We are proposing $40 million for housing instead of that $5 million slap in the face. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Simon Rowe. I'm speaking on behalf of Tampa Bay Community Action Committee. I, like many people here, have been coming out for several months now to ask that City Council acknowledge this housing state of emergency, and I'm very glad to see that there is actual action being put behind the words, that we're actually going to do something to declare a housing state of emergency as the first step towards a rent control ordinance. Because people have been coming up sharing their experiences of what we already know, that the housing emergency is here. We're seeing astronomical rent increases, like highest setting records for the country as a whole. We're seeing higher rates of evictions, and it's happening all over Tampa. We've heard from people in Timber Falls, from Silver Oaks, from Robles Park Village, people who are being pushed out and evicted and losing everything. And that's who we need to think of right now. These are people who could be losing everything. I've heard before about we need to hear both sides of this. One side is going to lose everything. The other side is going to have a bad investment. So when you look at it equally, that's what's going on here. And so when you look at those two sides, I've picked a side. I picked the side of the people who are at risk of homelessness, who are at risk of losing what should be a basic human right. And I think City Council should acknowledge that too, especially when 44% of Tampa rents and isn't affected by this crisis. We need to see actual action. We need to see money being put where our mouths are, of increasing housing in this budget, funding for housing in this budget. We need the rent control ordinance. We need a way for people to live in Tampa, people who have lived here for decades, who have nothing else to fall back on. And if you decide to go against the rent control ordinance, if you decide to flip-flop, that'll look really bad to the residents of Tampa. Like months ago, looking at the Tenants' Bill of Rights, many people supported that. And we saw something similar to today where landlords spoke out against it. But guess what? People got really, really mad when that happened because they wanted to see actual changes happen, positive changes here in this community, not just negative ones of increasing rent. So I hope you all think of the community that comes out here month after month. I hope you take their needs into account and take them seriously, because this isn't going away. It's been happening for far too long. I'm happy to see steps being made. Just keep on going, and we will remember that when elections come up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Angel D'Angelo, lifelong resident of Tampa. So we've been working at this for a long time. Honestly, I'm really, really tired. But I'm hoping that we're at close to a finish. There's no finish line here because the actual solution to the houselessness crisis is houses. I know that's really bizarre, but you give people a house and there's no longer houselessness. Like, it's like if someone's hungry, you give them food, they're no longer hungry. It's like, it's a solution. So maybe instead of $5 million, you put like, I don't know, a whole lot more than that. Like, the Tampa Police Department, scandal after scandal, like they get the 18% raise. You can't do anything about that, right? Because the union contract's already negotiated. Guess they can sell some equipment. They don't need so many drones. They don't need so many K9s. They don't need all that. So sell that and you can pay for the raise. And when they have attrition, don't hire anybody because the hiring y'all are doing, I mean, didn't somebody get thrown out of Busch Gardens for throwing their badge? Like, what is going on at Tampa Police Department? I don't know if y'all have ever seen the show Reno 911. More competent. So I don't know why we're giving them all this money, but nonetheless, y'all are going to do what you got to do. There's a lot of interest in that. Obviously, we need to put $34 million into the RMAP program. That's the figure that was calculated for the demand, so we need to make sure rents are getting paid. As far as the landlords, we're asking for a rent stabilization of 5% for 1 year after they just raised it 30% the previous year. If they go broke over that, they deserve to go broke. Like, come on. Come on, I better see unanimous. Well, I better see 6-1 support. I know who the one's definitely going to be, but I better see 6-1 on that today. Like, if they're going to go broke after raising 30% and they're still going to be able to raise at least 5%, yikes! Like, they need to get into another business because no, I'm not the best with money, but come on. I also support the decriminalization of abortion. Abortion is a human right, and it's never going to go away. The only thing you have the ability to take away is safe abortion. You're not going to take away abortion. So I hope to see that pass. This is an all-Democrat board, so it would be very weird if it didn't. But I know some of you are dinos. I won't say any names. But we need to, you can freeze the police budget, by the way. You don't have to raise it. Like, there's no law saying you have to raise it. So after all the scandals they've had, they're under DOJ investigation for throwing people, mainly black people, out of their house over not even convictions, but charges, some that were dropped, is what I heard. So that doesn't sound like a department that needs to be rewarded with more money. You can freeze that budget, and you can start coming up with other things. I could give you so many solutions. Cahoots, not the co-response program that you've already implemented, one that's not connected to police. Call up Eugene, Oregon. I've already done that. call them and get the data. You can do this. You can do this right. Do not be afraid of the Governor DeSantis, because, I mean, stand up for what's right. Stand up for what's right, do what's right, and don't be afraid.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council. My name is Mark Rosenwasser, and Tampa has been my home for 43 years. I've been in property management for 45 years, and I love what I do because I provide quality, affordable housing to the residents of Tampa and Hillsborough County. My company has managed over 60,000 units. We currently employ about 100 people, all of whom are essential workers. Most of the apartments we've managed the last 15 years have been workforce, affordable, low income, and Section 8. I'm currently Vice Chair of the Affordable Housing Advisory Board to the Hillsborough County Commission, where I work with Councilman Gudis and others who, like me, care greatly about affordable housing. My company manages 2 affordable apartment communities for Catholic charities. We donate 10% of our management fee back to Catholic charities, and I personally donate a significant amount to help fund their many programs. These include housing assistance, financial assistance, for security, for utility deposits, pass-through rents, even at properties that we don't manage, and much more. Our employees help residents who need assistance. We opened our clubhouses to folks who share information about ERAP and legal aid organizations. Our teams deliver flyers to residents to get them to attend these programs and learn about rental assistance that is available to them. We've worked with residents who've fallen behind on their rents rather than evict them. We prefer to keep our residents and their families in their homes because that's where they've developed a sense of community. In recent years, our clients have purchased apartments that were in poor condition and with our assistance, turned them into quality, affordable apartments. We've managed apartments that had a terrible history with code enforcement and restored them so that code enforcement problems have become success stories. The housing supply far exceeded the demand for many years. We reduced rents and gave up to 2 months free rent to keep our apartments full. In recent years, demand has exceeded supply due to significant increases in the area's population. Everybody who lives in Florida, especially Tampa, and a significant reduction in the construction of new affordable communities. Rents have increased in recent years because of significant increases in operating costs, including real estate taxes, insurance, payroll. Our minimum wage is $15 at our company, and utilities. Many of the communities are almost 50 years old. The cost of maintaining and upgrading them is significant. Although rent increased 24% in 2021, the increases slowed to 60% last year and are projected to be 8% or less by the end of this year. Rents will continue to decline as the housing supply growth meets demand. Rent control will slow down construction of new affordable housing. A Wall Street Journal article dated 3 days ago indicated that rent control significantly reduced an owner's ability to maintain a quality rental housing stock, let alone improve it. Economists have long stated that rent control was supposedly passed to help those in housing, but the reality is that rent control creates scarcity and makes it far more difficult for people to find housing. The reality is that rent control
Thank you, sir.
makes matters worse.
Good morning. My name is Margaret Rushing. I am a business owner in Tampa and a supplier partner with the Bay Area Apartment Association. My date of birth is May 3rd, 1952. I am 70 years old. I work every day, and I raise 2 granddaughters and 2 great-grandchildren who are living with me right now, and that is because they haven't been able to find housing. I teach them budgeting, I teach them economics, and as well as myself, they know that rent control is not the answer. That will only cause an economic downturn, and it will force developers out of our state. I know several that have already left for other states that don't impose these things. We work diligently in our association to try to keep the funds that are designated for affordable housing to be used for affordable housing. With our own money, we go to Tallahassee and we go to legislative offices throughout the year to try to keep the Sadowski Fund from being raided and used for everything other than affordable housing. If all the energy in this room were to be put towards going to your legislators, demanding that this money be used for the affordable housing it was intended for, it's highly likely we would not even be here today. Affordable housing is an issue, not lack of housing, or rather lack of housing all across the board. Rents have to be raised and have been raised because costs across the board have been raised. Our parts as a service company and all of our constituents in other areas have had to increase their costs because of the cost in parts in our labor force and every other aspect throughout this situation. High costs have to be put to cover the costs to be able to continue to have housing, period. I am against rent control because I know that that is not going to be a solution here. What will help the solution is let's get our governor and the legislator to put the affordable housing funds where they were intended. Build us more affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Keela McCaskill. I'm a native of Tampa, realtor, nonprofit organization. And I'm here, as we already know, discussing the affordable housing. I want to start off by saying thank you for the increase. I think for a year now, I've been asking for you all to get a raise. You're one of the most active bunches involved in the community that I've ever seen. So I wanted to see you, because right now your salaries, you might qualify for affordable housing. We've been here, thank you all for declaring this an emergency and getting it on the ballot. Even Councilman Carlson, for him being, he's consistent and he's always going to be strategic and supportive, even if he couldn't. So thank you for that. We need most of you working collaboratively to find a resolve for this. It's a tough place to be in. But before I can even talk about it, I'm mad as hell that here we are in the middle of a crisis, and the mayor of the city gave us the same speech from last year as if she's not seen the state of emergency that we're in. You already told us 10,000 homes was your effort. Who gave you that information? Clearly, they didn't do a needs assessment because you gave us that information last year. Since 2017, hundreds of people were moving here per day. Where you get them numbers from? Who gave you that information? Make it public, because I guarantee you they were not a professional that gave her that needs assessment, if she even had one. So I'm going to go back to say almost a year you've heard from us. We've come in here, you've heard from most of these people that's been impacted by this crisis. I'm too young to know what the outcome going to be when they come back. I don't even know what the impacts will be. But what I want to say is that while we wait to hear back from legal, and if it gets on the ballot or whatever, I know we can't build our way out, and I know we can't rent stabilization our way out of this. We've not necessarily publicly heard from developers or the landlords prior to today, but you got into their pockets if you did this rent stabilization. What I'm going to encourage is that perhaps we do some kind of board that works with you as we work towards the resolve. Because the developers could potentially say, hey, I'm not gonna build these affordable apartments anymore, or these apartments anymore, I'm gonna flip to condo conversions. We don't wanna see that. We could see the landlords, the smaller ones, sell their properties. We don't wanna see that. And corporations we've not heard from, because what's their impact? If their employees can't get to work for 45 minutes to an hour, with gas prices being the way they are, what's been their impact? We need to hear from everybody to work towards a solution. I am for rent stabilization if it means it's a help, but it's not the only thing to help. Perhaps you can give some assistance to these landlords and developers. I don't know what the resolve is, but I want to see us work collaboratively to make it happen. We're being watched around the world, and we get a chance to lead as far as what the resolve will be as a city. We can do this. Say yes. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Eric Garduno, Government Affairs Director for the Bay Area Apartment Association. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I am not a Tampa resident, but I do represent the apartment industry in the greater Tampa Bay region. That includes apartment owners, developers, managers in both market rate and affordable. Our members span the board as it relates to the types of housing that are provided and the amounts that they charge every day, but all of them are being impacted by inflationary pressures today. I think everybody sees that day in and day out. But one thing that I know that we can all agree on clearly, because I've heard it from everybody who's spoken up here, is that we don't have enough homes. We don't have enough homes for all the people that want to live here in Tampa. That is where we're at. And that shortage of housing has put us to a point where the prices for rentals and for homes for sale have gone up. That's pushed those prices up. What I don't understand, though, is how rent control is going to address the lack of supply that is at the root of all this. What we've seen in terms of data is that rent control will actually hurt supply. We've seen that in St. Paul, where over the last year, the new building for multifamily has gone down 82%. That number is also 55% over the average of 3 years. So it's not just like a one-year fluke. This is real detriment to the housing supply in St. Paul. We've seen other studies that looked at other parts of the country that have instituted rent control, places like San Francisco, where their changes in the rent control law forced 15% of the housing supply of small multifamily to go down. These are real data points that are happening that have happened in other parts of the country that have adopted rent control. And let's also remember, too, that some of these places, like New York, like San Francisco, have had rent control for generations. And they still have consistently the highest rents every year for probably the last 20 or 30 years, both those two markets. Every year, they're woefully undersupplied in housing. So rent control isn't the answer to get us out of the situation we're in. We need more housing, and rent control is going to discourage that. Might also point out that some of the data points that are being discussed today are changing, or have changed. I think a lot of people are operating on data from last year. Data from last year is changing and moving, and what we're seeing now today is a lot more units becoming available. The vacancies are going up, and what we're likely going to see by the end of the year is if there's any increases, it's going to be single-digit increases for any kind of rent. That's what analysts are predicting and looking at the market data today and telling us. So those are important points to keep in mind. Lastly, I just want to say that we do understand people are having a hard time making ends meet. There are people in need, and what we would certainly support is direct assistance to those folks. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Councilman Goods.
Sir, what was your name again, and what was you were with?
My name is Eric Garduno. I'm with the Bay Area Apartment Association.
My question to you, sir, is until this council took a foot forward to address an issue with our citizens, where have the developers and the apartment associations been? Exactly. I'm just curious because now we're here, and I'm glad Mr. Miranda said we've got to shake it, right, Mr. Miranda? We've got to shake it to get things moving. So maybe this conversation now can start moving. So if we put something on the ballot, maybe we can have a board and now we come together to find solutions of all the vacant apartments that are luxury apartments that are empty. And maybe we can drop those rents down so people can be in, and we can have those numbers, rehab some of the buildings that we have, and now we have the supply, because I believe we do have the supply, but people don't have the money in their pocket because they don't make enough to pay for the prices that are going on right now. So that's all I have to say. So let's have that conversation about where you guys have been. So thank you, sir, for coming.
May I?
No, sir, I just wanted to put that out there because I'm hearing that and seeing people here for the first time, but we've had this issue for a while. But thank you for coming.
Good morning, Jacob Brunel, 2918 West Kennedy Boulevard, Tampa, Florida. I have a polling survey that we conducted in May that I would just like to hand out to council members, if that's okay. I would also like to note that we were here in March and May and June, so we've been around, but I haven't been receiving too many emails from anyone except probably Carlson, who responds pretty fast. But anyways, good morning, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this morning. My name is Jacob Brunel, and I am the Director of Government Affairs for Greater Tampa Realtors. Our association represents about 16,000 members in the Tampa Bay area. Our association understands the critical need for rental housing and the need to expand our current rental housing inventory. Every year, our association and thousands of realtors across the state of Florida head to Tallahassee to meet with our legislators. Year after year, we advocate for full funding of the Sadowski Trust Funds. This tax, paid on all real estate transactions, incentivizes local governments to create partnerships that produce and preserve affordable housing. Unfortunately, more than $2 billion have been swept from the trust fund, resulting in 94,000 foregone affordable housing units. To alleviate the housing cost burden and make affordable housing more accessible, the state must commit to fully funding the Sadowski Housing Trust Funds. The primary issues prior to and after the emergence of COVID-19 have been the availability of affordable housing and the barriers to constructing housing. Rent control has been shown to increase local taxes, negatively impact the existing housing stock, and reduce the future inventory of affordable housing. By discouraging development, rent control effectively restricts supply, driving up housing costs. In May, our association conducted a rent control survey in front of you and presented the facts at the May 26th Council workshop. The survey focused on actively voting Tampa residents across several demographics and political affiliations on their views of rent control. 63% of respondents agreed that rent control would have unintended consequences, and 74% of Democrats supported providing more housing instead of rent control policies. 64% of all respondents agreed that affordable housing development should be fast-tracked to combat housing scarcity. Considering these negative implications of rent control for our city and residents, Greater Tampa Realtors encourages council to adopt policies that will promote the increase of affordable housing and remove disincentives that have contributed to the lack of private capital invested in our community. Thank you for your continued efforts and dedication to the city of Tampa. Our association and its 16,000 members stand ready to assist in any matter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Linda Wiggins Chavis. I am from Faith in Florida. I have been here before. Let me first start by saying thank you to Councilman Goods for what you have done regarding this crisis, and to the rest of you for supporting his motion. I'm at a loss for words now. It is absolutely ridiculous for developers, landlords to come up here and talk to us like we haven't been doing our jobs, to talk to us and tell us that we need to go to Tallahassee. No, you go to Tallahassee. You do your job as a landlord. You stand up for these people the way that they need you to. Don't slap somebody in the face and say, well, you know, I know it hurts, but let me give you this lollipop. You'll be okay. No, that is not acceptable. I'm tired of it. I am tired of it. Historically, in this country, Black people are always told to wait for justice. Always. And this crisis disproportionately affects Black and brown people. We know this. Whether we want to admit to it or not, we know this. We need to stop acting like we're not intelligent enough to understand what the problems are, because we are. And if they don't want to solve this issue the way that it needs to be solved, go develop somewhere else. We're tired of this, and we're not going to put up with it anymore. We need something to be done. It needs to be carried through to the end. This is just the very first step. This is something that, like I've said before, I am not even personally affected by it. But there are way too many people out here who are, that look like me. So I'm going to stand up for them over and over and over again until this is resolved. Not just slapping a Band-Aid on it. It needs to be resolved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning or afternoon, everybody. I don't know. But Councilman Good, I want to say this first. When you were running for office, you'd never heard from rent control, and you thought I was crazy, didn't you? He had never heard of it. But what I want to say for the people who are listening that think rent control is not, these are people not talking about welfare. They're trying to get themselves together. But it's hard to tell someone not about low housing when you're watching corporations take over the city. I remember West Tampa, the railroad track ended at Spruce, all the way across Kennedy. The railroad tracks are no longer there. We're watching condos, everything go up. Nobody once in West Tampa would be able to move in any of this. But the people that's not for rent control, again, I want to emphasize, we're not talking about welfare. We're looking for a place to stay and make sure that we can stay there and make homes. The affordable houses and not affordable houses, a lot of these people would like to have their own house. They would love to have the yard. They might even get one like Miranda and have the everything fixed up just perfectly. But again, I can't imagine anybody talking to, I went outside to talk to the gentleman that said that, about the housing that he rents. And I talked to him and I explained, do you know our history has been moved? Do you know there's nothing here? I asked him how long had he been here. I was born and raised here. Yesterday I celebrated my 77th year. I think it's ridiculous, thanks, to watch all of this and we let the contractors come in and take over. A lot of our places do not exist at all anymore. And I think for the people listening, and this is the ones that's listening out, you're taking everything away. We're not looking for welfare. We're looking to be independent. And you're stopping it. We did this in Rosewood when we started again, and I was watching something in 1963. They would call it 5 Black Men. The conversation has been the same. It's time to change. And please get the housing over, get the rent stabilization we'll do for a while. It would help if we could wind up affording our own homes. Some people don't want to. Some are retired like I am, might not want to have a house again, and just would enjoy working. And I'm retired from the state of Florida, and I definitely worked, had grandchildren, raised them and all. But we want to be independent. We would like to have this. And again, the corporations are taking over with places. It's too much. And I can't imagine anyone saying that we don't need to work. When we're watching these expensive Culver City, all up and down Culver City condos. And you're looking at these people who have owned their homes are just about out and scared to death. So we need to wind up coming together, and for the lady that think we didn't go to Tallahassee, we go all the time and we'll be going again.
Hi, good morning. My name is Carrie Mueller. I'm a resident of St. Petersburg. And I wanted to address your question about why landlords have not been present earlier. And I just wanted to let you know I relocated from the South Florida region about 1.5 years ago to St. Petersburg. And I have attended every single possible community meeting about housing. I've attended meetings on how to distribute the ARPA funds, the $45 million that St. Petersburg was able to receive, and a significant majority of those funds were allocated to housing. That's based on the public's input to prioritize those funds to address the housing crisis. So I do want to let you know I have been involved with that meeting. I have attended the community conversations for the mayor for our neighborhood in the south side of St. Petersburg, and I currently volunteer up to 15 to 20 hours a week to work with our neighborhood to try to make it a better place for everybody involved. I really advocate for the residents of South St. Pete. I think we really need to focus some money to try to support them, try to get them to have an opportunity to be participating in the growth in a positive way, because I understand and I empathize with people. They are not winning. They're like seeing damage, and I understand and empathize. I agree with their positions. But I just want you to know that I have been trying to do everything that I can to participate in trying to find solutions. And I attend city council meetings on a regular basis. I write city council, and I think that we really need to work as a whole community, because we really need to address these levels at a state issue, and really we need to address these levels at a national issue. This is a national housing crisis. In the past, people had to move to a more affordable location. Now there is no affordable locations. This is an issue for our entire country, as Americans, as working class people at all income levels. It's very serious. And I want to just respond again about why people who are in the industry have not attended. And I just want to share with you that every time I encounter one of the tenant union groups, I am met with hate. I am met with being called a parasite. I have been yelled at with a megaphone to go to hell, landlord. I was recently told that that landlords should not exist and that they want to create a landlord registry. I was told after 22 years, I worked as an engineer building buildings and infrastructure, often for public municipal agencies and federal agencies for the public. As an engineer, I worked for 22 years. I was told to get a real job. So I'm doing this on my own. Landlords, we're independent. We'd like to work independently. I don't know a lot of other landlords that like to get in a group to come here, but I just want to speak my mind and let you know that we are trying to solve this problem together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Captain Frank Williams, located at 1112 East Scott Street. I've been coming down here time and time again, but y'all seem to have deaf ear when I come up here and speak. I want y'all to know something. I thank God for this beautiful day, and I pray to God to bless you all also. Although y'all might hate me, but I'm not going to hate y'all. I don't have that kind of heart. There was a young lady here last week. That's basically why I came back over here this week. The young lady was over here last week, had tears in her eyes, crying because her landlord had went up on her rent. And she had 3 children. And she told me that they had put her outdoor. And where could she go? So finally she met a friend that took her up. But you know what? It's so sad that you see the council don't seem to understand. Or y'all don't want to understand our position. And you talk about affordable housing. I don't know whether I can afford affordable housing. We don't know where it's going to start from. I'm on a fixed income. Y'all can care less about me. Whether I'm on the streets, whether I'm in the bushes or whatever. Y'all can care less. And it's been like that way ever since I've been in Tampa. And I just want to thank God that I'm here today. I'm an old man, but God has been so good to all of us. You, me, and everybody else. And you don't want to know something? Lord have mercy. We got a man now talking about running for president. And I'm talking about y'all boy, what his name, Donald Trump. I'm talking about that guy. He want to run for president. And you know when he was there before, you know he shut down the government? Huh? Did you not know? Y'all know that? I know y'all know. But the thing about it, he want to get back there this time and shut it down again. He don't care nothing about you. He don't care nothing about your color. All of us going to be in the hole together. Be white or black, it don't make no difference. And that's why I say all we want to do is be treated like citizens. I'm talking about the Jews, the Mexicans, the Indian, the black, the color, the poor white, and the Christian. All of us, we just want to be treated like citizens of the United States of America. I think that's where I'm at. I'm in the United States of America. But I'm treated like an animal. I'm treated like I ain't nobody. And you too. Whether you got a decent job or not. We all treated like animals. They look at the color of my skin and tell me to get in the back of their line. And it's been like that ever since I've been here in this place called the United States of America. We don't give a damn about certain people. The only thing we care about getting our check once a month. And we don't care. We care less about Frank Williams and everybody else. But you want to know? I still want to tell y'all, God bless all of y'all.
Thank
Y'all
you.
keep marching forward. Y'all gonna be all right. Thank you. I know y'all don't want to hear me.
Ms. Lockett, before you begin, as I see no one standing for public comment after this gentleman, the And if you could, please.
It's hard for me to stand up.
She
Okay.
can't stand for a long period of time.
I just want to gauge on where we're at.
You're right here.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. Ms. Lockett, please.
Good morning, council. I'm really full this morning, on the brink of tears. We have been working around housing since February. Where have the developers, the landlords, the management company, it's like David against Goliath. And you still have the choice to make a solid decision on doing right by the people. Half those damn people probably don't even live in your district. But they're coming up here, and this housing situation is not about poor people. Right. It's about people. It's about people. It's about the haves and the have-nots. We would not be in this situation if they didn't raise the rent. Right. The crazy amount that they have. We would not be in this situation. So they're coming and they're making stances. I've heard there's nice landlords. The landlords are good people. We have slumlords that's still raising their rent. Create more programs. That I am so infuriated right now. Create more programs and assistance. Why? To fill their pockets more? Exactly. The rent is rising. When it's over, it's still going to be up there. Are they going to decrease it when it's all over? No, they're going to keep it the same. So the mere fact that they're here in the 12th hour because the community came out pushing, lobbying, having conversations. Y'all have heard people's tears, seen people's tears. And they come out in the 12th hour, all white men and a few women challenging you guys. I am so infuriated right now. I kid you not. You made a decision, a bold decision to step out of the box and do something about housing for a year. And we're not saying they don't keep their money. Don't raise it more than 5%. It's greed. How do we fight against greed? Exactly. How do we do that? You have no idea how angry I am right now. How do you do that? And I'm sick and tired of saying I'm sick and tired. And I'm sick and tired of Joe Person coming in here and stepping on people. Yep. People that don't have a voice. Yep.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Norman Harris. I'm a young professional. I'm basically here to educate myself on issues and to see how I can get involved with these issues that affect our community. I want to take a personal privilege to acknowledge a young man, 16 years old, David Frazier, who does not think this boring, but intelligent enough to want to learn, and he's shadowing me today. I just want to acknowledge that. And one of my good friends, Fran Tate, who is the president of the Jackson Heights Neighborhood Association and Crime Watch, asked if I would publish a statement for her. She states, "Good morning, council members. Thank you for your time. I'd like to address item 10 on today's city council agenda. Councilman Goods, thank you for the motion, and Councilman Maniscalco, thank you for the second in the motion. Councilman Maniscalco, you are correct. The people are crying out. City council must take action to prevent the citizens of Tampa from facing continuous evictions. We are decent humans, and we must help one another in whatever capacity that we can. It's a devastating feeling I know firsthand. I spent a portion of my vacation last week assisting my son and his dog to relocate to a more affordable apartment. But you see, he is one of the fortunate ones. The majority of the tenants that all of you hear from are not that fortunate. They will end up on the streets. Therefore, Mayor Jane Castor, council members, and the city legal department, please take the proper steps for this matter to make the November ballot, allowing the voices of the voters to be heard. Councilman Carson, we understand your point, but as Councilwoman Hurtak stated, the nature of government does not work that fast. We, the community, out of desperation, are willing to take it to the ballot box. Thank all of you for your hard work and have a blessed day. Again, that was published on behalf of Ms. Fran Tate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I am Reverend Willie G. Dixon. I have an office in District 5, East Tampa. And I've listened to people express a situation that's a problem. But I think every problem can be solved. So I want to have a workshop. I want to invite all of the council persons and all of the landlord owners, not their representatives, to come to with the renters and listen to them, because 3 minutes is not enough time to have any dialogue. And here I want this young man that's 16 years of age to know that there was some greatness here back in 1820. He was a black man. And I want you to know that we have what we call Tampa Heights. And they say, take it to the heights. But it was property that was taken from black folks. When you go down to see where they play hockey, you know, that was the Garrison. If you go to Doverville, most of the places here, and I know some of my friends, they're not as old as I am. I'm 90 years of age. So I know the history of Tampa. So I pray that we come together as one and come up with a solution. We know that Sadowski must be turning over in his grave, knowing how they are raping that money that was dedicated for housing. You have the power. This election, you have the power to make a difference. And I thank you for taking a bold stand, because we know that the election is coming up. And if we get enough people involved, we can change this whole system. Because what? It's the people that elect the elected officials. So what are we going to do about it? We're going to show up, we're going to vote, and we're going to demand what we want from our elected officials. Because every one of our elected officials, from the White House to the courthouse, are being paid with our tax dollars. So therefore, we need to come together and find a solution. If we can send a person to the moon and back into other planets, I know we can find a solution about this rent problem that we have. And I thank you. And lastly, today is my sister's birthday. I want to wish my sister Jean Meeks a happy birthday.
Hi, my name is Arlene Washington, and I've been here before. And I'm 77 years old, and I saved. Took me a long time to save money to move down here, thinking that this was a nice place to move to. But now I have to save money again so that I can move away from this place, because you don't care about us at all. We're seniors on a fixed income, and you could care less. When you wake up in the morning, you get paid all the time. We get paid once a month, and all of our money has to go into paying rent, light bills, and everything else that we have to pay. We can't sometimes get medicine, sometimes we can't eat, and sometimes we can't buy clothes that we might need. And we're here to let you know that we need your help. And we voted for you. And if you want us to vote for you again, you need to help us. Other than that, we can find somebody else to come help us. But it's a shame that I moved down here thinking it's going to be okay when it's not. And I'm kind of tired of you people telling me what I can and cannot do, where I can and cannot go. Right now, I'm ready to move out of this country because you don't care about me. And being black is really not helping. And I can't change my skin, and I'm proud of being black. And I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. But you should be ashamed of yourselves for not trying to help us by saying, yeah, okay this and yeah, okay that, but you do nothing. And I've only been here a year and a half. And everybody else has been here a heck of a lot longer than me. And they're still talking about the same thing over and over and over again. You gotta stop it. You gotta stop it. We're not trying to do anything to hurt you. Most of us just want to live. I just want to be retired and enjoy my life, what's left of it. And I'm tired of fighting with you guys to have that kind of life. And it's getting tiring. It makes me get older. And I'm sick of being older. I just want to relax and just live just a few minutes. But it's time for you guys to get up off your and do something for us. It's truly time. And I'm so sick of the landlords telling me they need this, they need that. Hey, they can make their bills paid. They've been doing it all this time. All of a sudden there's a disease out here, so everybody raises the rent, raises the gas tax and all that stuff. Enough. You gotta stop it. And like now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, we soon. Now you're coming real soon.
Believe me, I will. Believe me, I will soon.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Verita Andre. I'm with Madison Highland. Me and my husband stay there. We moved there in January. Our rent went up in April. It's a shame that we have not been there a whole year, and our lease is a year. It's hard right now with all of us from Madison Highland. And they're talking about in August this month of going up on our rent again. And it's not right. They put notices on our doors and letting us know what they're gonna do. That's 2 times in a year they're going up on our rent. It's not even the end of our lease yet. The end of our lease is in January, and it's not fair to us. It's 2 of us and we can't afford it. My husband is sick with cancer right now. I'm fighting for medicine for him that I have to pay out my pockets because of this. And I don't think that's fair to us. That we are senior citizens just want to retire and enjoy our life and we can't. It's hard and it's not right. Thank y'all for listening.
We cannot afford it.
Good morning. Andy Joe Scaglione, 3802 Ehrlich Road, Tampa, Florida. I grew up in West Tampa on Beach Street. I've been a landlord for over 38 years. I'm not here for self-serving reasons. I'm here because I care. My rents happen to be way below market and will continue to be as long as I'm a landlord. I never forgot where I came from. These good people that have spoken and their families and friends need help now, but sadly, rent control will hurt them now and many years to come. After a tremendous amount of due diligence that I have done on rent control, it sounds good, but it does not and has not worked in other cities. We need to incentivize ways to create more affordable housing, not discourage it. Notwithstanding, I feel like there's a 100% chance the city will lose in court putting rent control on the November ballot. Let's not waste money in the legal system. Let's help these people in different ways now. I mean now, while we have runaway inflation. I'm glad that everybody here has come here, and also the council, to shake things up. Yes, sometimes that needs to happen, for good things to happen. But let's be strategic and smart in the way we help our citizens. Again, I thank you for your public servant, and I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Alvaro Montealegre. I want to say that I support rent control. I want to thank you for putting it on the ballot. I feel that the solution is not on the hands of developers. Had it been, we would not be in this crisis right now. I think that we, in fact, need to go further than rent control, perhaps social housing built by the city. I want to, again, thank you for putting it on the ballot, and I'm in support of rent control. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in chambers that wishes to make public comment? Ms. Danielle, who do we have on the line?
Chair, the first speaker is going to be Michael Randolph. Michael, if you're on the line, please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Good morning. My name is Michael Randolph, and I'm with the West Tampa Community Development Corporation. I'm here today to make a major announcement in terms of jobs for West Tampa and talk about key takeaways with the Department of Transportation workforce team. The meeting was convened by Troy Coney, the CEO of the Community Enterprise Group LLC, to connect employers to people that need jobs. Takeaways. Well, the first takeaway is that they are going to be linking $2 billion in construction jobs, including 4 major construction projects in the West Tampa area. This was going to create hundreds of jobs for residents in West Tampa. The other thing it's going to do is connect minorities to contracts in order to get work with the Department of Transportation. The Department of Transportation controls the bridges. The other component is going to increase the cash flow to local businesses as well as reduce crime in the community. What's important about this is that now with all the bridges that's being built in West Tampa, now residents will have a link to those jobs. The CDC is working with Department of Transportation. We're going to be responsible for creating and working with the community to get at least 100 to 200 people hired to do jobs. The beauty of this project is that even people with criminal records can actually get a job. The 5 projects that the Department of Transportation is doing include the Franklin Square Bridge. This is about job creation. We're happy to be a partner of this. We want to say thank Corey Coney for her part in bringing together the Federal Department of Transportation for seeing the need to increase minority businesses in West Tampa. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next speaker is going to be Alexander Khalil. Alexander, if you're on the line, please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Alexandra Camino. I am a representative of the Democratic Progressive Caucus of Tampa Bay as president. And I am here to stress the importance of the housing crisis, as we all are. We knock on doors, we canvass the community, we talk about affordable housing every single day. It's the #1 issue when we knock on doors. It's the #1 issue around the water coolers. People are moving, people are trying to find couches to sleep on. And, I want to remind you that rental properties are an investment and housing is a human right. I'm glad that the mayor said that the avenue is available because we want to declare a state of housing emergency. We need some type of rent stabilization. There are professionals who want a landlord registry. And we know who not to rent from whenever there are people and bad actors out there. Just like landlords get to do background checks on us, we should have that available. We are begging for policy change, and I want to know if the developers and the landlords are begging for humanity or if they're begging for profit. I heard someone ask where we have been during this. I want to say we are working 1, 2, 3 jobs. We are taking time out of the day. It's been a 3-hour workday to come here at this meeting so that we can represent the people who we're knocking on the doors and talking to get out the vote every single day. We are talking to constituents, and this is exactly how democracy works. The community can talk to community organizers. Community organizers hold elected officials accountable. And we are working hard on this, just like we worked hard on transportation, just like we're working on abortion rights, just like we're working on Fight for 15. We're always, always working. Thank you, Progressive Caucus of Tampa Bay. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
The next speaker was going to be it was Delma Rodriguez. However, she did not register, so she's not showing on our list. So the next speaker will move on to Nathan Nagel. Nathan, if you're on the line, please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Good morning. My name is Nathan Nagel, and I'm a resident of Tampa. I'm also a regional manager for a multifamily company that has 6 communities here in the greater Tampa Bay area. We employ 60 of the city's great citizens, and we provide apartment homes for approximately 2,500 hardworking families. I'm here today to respectfully express my opposition to the rent control ordinance here in Tampa. There are countless examples and data I can provide that show reasons as to why rents have increased, not just here in Tampa or Florida, but throughout our nation. One example I want to share is for a community of mine here in the heart of Tampa. This community saw huge increases in operating expenses. Operating expenses, which include payroll, supplies, utilities, insurances, taxes, and contract services such as security, pool cleaning, landscaping, elevator maintenance, and much, much more. Payroll is up 9% year over year. Supplies, 26%. Taxes, and this is eye-opening, saw a 50% increase, or $766,000 year over year. All this to say that our operating expenses for just this one community saw a 21% increase overall year over year. This is the same for many other apartment communities here in Tampa. As Mayor Jane Castor mentioned in her opening statement, inflation is driving up the cost for everyone, and apartment communities are not exempt from this. Inflation is the highest in 40 years, as previously mentioned today. The answer isn't rent control. The answer is addressing inflation and supply. Just today, I saw on the news that Disney prices, such as tickets and merchandise and accommodations, are up 4,000% year over year. And the housing costs are up 19.4% for Q2. The reason? Low inventory. This segues me into another point. While inflation accounts for a large part of the rent increases, it also has to do with supply and demand. It's apparent that we have a housing deficiency here in Tampa. What does Economics 101 teach us about supply and demand? When supply is more than demand, prices are low. When demand is more than supply, prices are high. Now, how did that class, Economics 101, teach us to combat increased pricing as a result of high demand and low supply? Well, I can assure you it wasn't to impose pricing control, but rather to increase the supply to meet the demand. By doing so organically, pricing will decrease and stabilize. We don't see the federal government imposing price controls on gas, groceries, goods and services, interest rates, and much, much more. They understand that the economy is fluid and ever evolving. Imposing laws that cater to a short period within the lifespan of an economy isn't the correct path. It's finding the root problem and fixing it, not putting a Band-Aid on it. By imposing rent control ordinances, you will stunt the growth of our city. Investors and developers will not be attracted to a city in which they can't get a return on their investment due to rent control measures. So all the jobs that come with new development, the millions of dollars in taxes, infrastructure, and fees that the city is counting on, and the increased inventory, it will go away. In conclusion, this ordinance to impose rent control is not the solution. I beg everyone to bring it back to the basics and trust your gut. Remove your emotion and understand that increased prices.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Next speaker is going to be Jean Straumeier. Jean, if you're on the line, please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, my name is Jean Straumeier, 53-year resident of Tampa. I'm just going to go through the agenda, and I just talking about the rent control. If you notice who is for it, it's Socialists for America. America will never be a socialist country. Don't try to make it that way. And they're talking about the ruling class are the landlords. The lady in beautiful young lady in the red with the hat, she has many, many houses, she said. So she's also a ruling class, just so you know, pointing that out. Let's see, there's so much to unpack, so I'm just going to kind of go through what I've listened to so far. This housing advocate program is just another agency that we don't need. The abortion issue that was brought up by our council, it shouldn't be here. In hearing people say that, you know, Roe v. Wade being overturned, it took from people. No, it took from people back 50 years ago when that was into effect. So now the states, which is what our Constitution is about, is the states have a right. The states have their own rights. That's what our Constitution is about. That is what, and it's not a democracy. We are a, Kyle, what's the word? Not democracy. Hurry up! Republic. Sorry, I just like blew off right here. Anyway, let's see. The draft ordinance on housing emergency, it's just about power. Somebody's going to gain more power from that, and that's what a lot of this is. People do not trust this government at all. I'm sorry to say, but it's sad. You're getting 2012, we have police grants. What was I going to say about that? Oh, why can't we use some of those funds in a different way? I would like some of that funds. The parks, 14. Gadsden Park is a park that's been neglected since I've been here for the last 30 years in this very neighborhood. Can y'all get some of that park money to Gadsden Park? And let's see, because they have that, let's see, I'm just going through the agenda. I apologize because I wasn't really that prepared today. I appreciate what y'all do. Oh, and the increases in salary. Now, I do support that, but not right now while people are having problems making ends meet and housing. So I don't think any increase in anybody's salary is a good idea right now, especially when we're paying for it. Y'all have a great day and be blessed.
Thank you.
Next speaker is going to be Heather Calderoni. Heather, if you're on the line, please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi there. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Heather Calderon. I'm a member of the Bay Area Apartment Association. My family's lived in Pinellas County for over 25 years. However, I'm actively working in Hillsborough. I spent 14 years as a multifamily manager. I've been on the multifamily supplier side for the last 16 years. I am actively involved with the National Affordable Housing Management Association called MAMA. I also serve on the FAA Affordable Housing Committee and participate actively with Habitat for Humanity. I work for a company called Resman that provides property management software for affordable communities. Back in 2007, our president and founder was a single mother working in multifamily, recognized how hard on-site teams work. And a lot of them like her. High school education, retail, hospitality, general workforce. She ended up building this amazing tech company to help these essential workers get on the fast track to promotions and an incredible career path. We're not the enemy. Because of our commitment to the affordable housing market, we have a deep understanding and a unique perspective of the long-term effects of rent control. And that's what we need to look at today. Once you put this in action, it stays in action. There's a lot of emotion around this issue, but we need to look at what will actually help today. Rent control on the surface sounds like a great solution, yet it's only a very short-term action that has a derogatory long-term effects that will have an immediate halt on things like development. We've already talked about what happened in St. Paul. 82% drop in new multifamily building after the approval of rent control, and this was in 2021. The National Multi-Housing Council conducted a survey, and 58% of companies said they would avoid cities with rent control. This impacts jobs in our communities. I agree that we do need to focus on not need to focus on development of more luxury apartments. The solution to this crisis is to build more affordable housing and to work together. Rent control is not the answer. Please protect the Sadowski Affordable Housing Fund. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Chair, the next speaker is going to be Christy Hickman. Christy, if you're on the line, please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, my name is Christy Hickman, and I have been in the property management industry just in Tampa Bay alone for the last 22 years. and I have worked for several different management companies and owners. And our goal has always been to keep our residents in their home and to provide the best service and the best homes that we can for our residents. And over the course of the last even year, we are seeing such a downshift. We did send out some pretty high increases as far as our renewals, and we started increasing our rents when inflation started rising. We were forced to, kind of like what the speaker previously had said, all of our supplies, our payroll taxes, our insurance, our utilities, with people working at home more, increased so drastically. So it kind of supported, it did definitely support that big increase in our renewals and our market rents. Even now, we're starting to see from last year an 8% decrease in the renewals that we're sending out, and we're projected to see another 8% by next year. I feel like we're already on that downward swing. And if we continue with this trend, we would not have a need for the rent to do the rent stabilization program. We would not need to impose that on us, because we still want to provide the housing that we have been continually to provide our residents. And we can't do that if we can't afford to keep their homes and to keep their homes intact and replace things and pay our suppliers to help us when an AC goes out, or to keep our pools maintained and our lawns maintained. We want to continue to do this for our residents. We do offer renewal conversations in our office. I oversee 2 communities, and in both of them, I encourage my teams, if someone comes in with a renewal offer that's high and they want to talk to me, schedule a time, let's sit down, let's talk about what we can do. They're not always set in stone. It might be negotiable, or maybe there's something in their home that they feel they would like us to fix or add, just to add that value. We do not want to displace residents, but if we impose rent control, we are going to lose so many positions, jobs on the market. Our suppliers are not going to be able to keep their staff because they're not going to be able to pay them if we cut back on what we're asking of them because we're imposed with a 5% increase. I definitely know that there is a housing crisis. I have 2 young daughters that are renters, and they are beside themselves with their increases. But rent control is not the answer. I agree with the Sadowski Fund again. A lot of people have said that prior to me, but I really do feel like that would be a great start. We need more affordable housing. Rent control is not the answer. I do thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Next speaker is going to be Stephanie Pointer. Stephanie, if you're on the line, please unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, good morning, Council. I personally am watching with my mouth hanging open with the professionals that have shown up now to talk to City Council about their expertise in housing. They are the true experts. They are pointing out solutions that should be considered, but today should have happened 6 months ago. The housing issue isn't something I spend a lot of time talking about with council. I let those who spend their time and energy researching it lead the march, and I just bring up the rear. I support the movement towards problem solving. I also recommend that the folks who have shown up to speak against the plan before council today should be working towards a better solution. Realtors, property managers, and others in the housing industry need to be at the table working on a solution, not just city staff and tenants. I think that the perfect example of this is the legal department's definition of luxury housing as anything over $1,050 per month. That's absurd. I looked in MLS this morning. There are 2 listings at $1,000 a month. Nothing below that. In the last 18 months, only 22 listings have been rented at $1,000 a month or less. So, and none are bigger than a 1-bedroom apartment. You see how the numbers are skewed, but yet nobody has approached the legal department and talked to them about how those numbers are incorrect. So I'd argue that that it is time for the folks who are the professionals in the housing industry who have thrown data and numbers at you today to have a seat at the table. We need to have a brainstorming session, a task force for housing. We have it for all other areas of the city. Why aren't these folks at the table working on a solution. As a landlord and a property manager, I understand tax increases, insurance premiums. Oh my God, don't talk to me about insurance. Increases in repair and maintenance. My personal properties are all rented at below market rate. I give good tenants good places to live. I'll continue to do so. I agree with Councilman Carlson that this pending legislation will cause another boondoggle. I do think it will push the stakeholders to the table and work on a solution with those who are struggling with the needs daily, along with the folks who are the professionals. We need the professionals at the table. Council, please invite these professionals who are here to criticize the process to work at the same table with us, making the changes that we need in our city. I'll also note that CMT is necessary. Today I have COVID. This is the second time in 30 days. We need to have the ability to speak from home when we don't feel well or we've got other obligations in our lives. Thank you very much, Council. Have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Chair, that's going to conclude public comments.
Thank you very much. Councilman Maniscalco.
I'd like to, before we continue, I know it's approaching lunchtime, open the 10:30 public hearings, especially item 45. I see Mr. McLaren has been waiting here, and it's just for a continuance to August 25th, 2022 at 1:30.
And I agree with that. I was going to ask someone to do that. We are approaching a lunchtime, and we're going to have a hard stop at 12:30. Chief, instead of calling staff back, I'd like to go through the agenda items, excuse me, the items in which our committees will be voting on, committee reports, and consent agenda. There I go. And then after we come back from lunch, go ahead and start the staff reports. Is that all right with you?
Yes, sir.
Is that all right with council?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Let's hear a continuance for agenda item number 45. Petitioner, are you here?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, thank you for hearing from us. We're actually the...
Name and address, please.
Scott McLaren, I apologize, 101 East Kennedy Boulevard. I'm here on behalf of the owner of the building. I think actually the petitioner on this particular issue is the city, but the city attorney and myself on behalf of the owner are requesting a continuance of this matter until the 25th of the month, and ask that it be specially set if possible. And thank you for hearing from us now as opposed to this afternoon. Thank you.
I'm going to make the statement. August 25th is very, very full. City clerk has informed me that we are full. Would you mind putting this off till September 1st?
If that's the earliest available, then that's when we need to do it. Yes, sir.
I would prefer that, but then again, the decision is up to you.
We want to do what's reasonable in the eyes of City Council.
Then I thank you. Is there anyone within chambers that would like to speak to the continuance only on agenda item number 45, file number HPC 22-01-C?
The one thing, before you set the date, we do also need a time certain for.
1:30.
1:30. What's the pleasure of council?
Move to continue this item to September. This is item file number HPC 22-01-C to September 1st at 1:30 p.m.
Second? We have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman and Council.
All right, we are going to go to consent agenda. Councilman Vieira, can you read 11 through 13?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I hereby move items 11 through 13.
Motion made by Councilman Vieira, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilman Goods.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Goods, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Thank you. Councilwoman Hurtak.
I'd like to move items 15 through 22.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Hurtak, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Councilman Miranda.
Chairman, I move items 23 to 28.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Thank you. Councilman Vieira.
Yes, sir, and my agenda's not coming up on my other screen here. Could you please give me the number, sir?
They are 29 through 32.
Thank you, sir. I hereby move items 29 through 32.
We have a motion made by Councilman Vieira, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Councilman Maniscalco.
I'd like to move items 33 through 35.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you very much. We do have these agenda items 36, 37, and 38. If we can.
I'd like to set them for public hearing.
Mr. Mechanic, are you there?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I'm here. David Mechanic, for the record. I am representing the applicant on item 38. A neighbor has filed a petition for review, and due to contractual obligations of my client, we would respectfully request that you set this for September 15th as opposed to October 6th, due to the fact that would put my client beyond the contract date on the property. We would respectfully request your consideration for that.
All right. Move to set item number 38, DE1-22-197-C to September 15th at 1:30 p.m.
A motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed?
And then I'd like to set items 36 and 37 as already scheduled.
Aye.
So 36, I had as recommended, so if you could just set that for actual October 6th, because we already have two now.
Okay. Unless you want to waive your rules and have more than two review hearings, which you have that authority to do. So you could have more than, you have by policy a limit, you're limiting your review hearings to 2 per meeting. So if you did what you're proposing to do as it's on the agenda, then on September 15th, you would have 3 review hearings instead of your normal 2.
No, let's leave it at 2, just in
Yeah,
case they're
yeah.
controversial.
Well, that means that then 36 needs to be.
So then I move item number 36, ARC 22-180-C to October 6th, 2022 at 1:30 p.m.
Have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? I'm sorry, Councilman.
I'm for 37.
Okay.
Second.
None opposed? Okay. File number VRB 22-24-C.
I'll be stepping out of abundance of caution. I've filled out a Form 8B on a conflict with this, and the states in the back what it is, and it's that property that I manage is next door to this, and just an abundance of caution, even though this is just setting a date, I'll step out.
Okay.
Okay, so I make a motion to set item 37 VRB 22-24-C for October 6th at 1:30 p.m.
This one's October, oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, second.
You okay?
Yeah, because we changed 38 to
I
the
know,
15th.
I'm confused.
That's
Thank
all right.
you.
Sometimes we get to it. A motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilwoman Hurtak. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. It is now 12:30. Shall we say 2 o'clock?
Yes, sir. Second. So moved. Yes.
We are at.
Wait 1 minute. I'll tell you all about that too. Then I told him, you got old time boogie.